2021 full city council meeting. The clerk will call the roll for attendance.
Battery, medium, connected. Libby's node 10.
Anderson Burgos.
Here.
Bartley.
Here.
Rainey.
Here.
Hernandez.
Here.
Leahy.
Present.
LeBron Martinez. Lisi.
Here.
McGee.
Here.
McGivern.
Here.
Murphy.
Here.
Sullivan.
Here.
Tallman.
Here.
Bacon.
Here.
Well, let me start off by saying happy St. Patrick's Day to everyone. Normally around now, we'd be having Councilor Bartley bring in the bagpipers and we'd be handing out awards and everything. Can't believe it's already been a year from the last time we had that, but happy St. Patrick's Day, everyone. I hope everyone stays safe tomorrow. With that, laid on the table are 4 petitions for poles and wire location.
Make a motion to take off the tables and open the public hearing.
Motion to take off and open the public hearing. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? I did see Vin O'Connell was here, I think, from the HG&E. Sitting here a minute ago. I might have lost him. Is anyone here from the HG&E?
And is here.
Yeah, I see it. Vin, can you hear us? Did we lose you? I do believe last time we lost him. Are you muted, Vin? Want to just leave him on the table in case he calls back in? Motion to be remain on the table.
So moved.
All those in favor?
Aye.
He said he's muted from his phone.
Yeah, he says he's muted somehow.
*6, Vin, if you can hear us, *6.
Yeah.
Hello?
Oh, there it is.
Oh.
All right, so motion is
Okay.
to take up items 1 through 4 removed from the table. All those in favor? All those opposed? We have Vin back. Vin, can you tell us a little bit about
sir.
the poll locations and what you're looking to do?
Yes.
President, we open the public hearing.
Oh, I thought we did that in the motion. Motion is to open the public hearing.
We did.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Vin?
Hi, so this is Vin O'Connell, Holyoke Gas and Electric. We're looking to do about 4, these is 4 poll petitions, 2 of which are actually going to be new installs, and the other 2 will be relocations of existing poles. The first one I will talk about is the pole for Pleasant Street, which will be placed adjacent from Fairfield Ave. It's going to be in between 340 and 346 Pleasant Street in the tree belt. This is going to be for a project to remove the backyard poles and conductors between Pleasant Street and Taylor Street. The abutters have been notified, and I spoke with both without any. Well, they were fine with the pole going in at the time of our conversation, which was probably a couple months ago when I started working on these. The next poll petition is on Princeton Street, and we are relocating a pole that's in a backyard. We're going to bring it up to the dead end on Princeton Street. And we also have another relocation. It is a streetlight pole that we're going to relocate into a parcel line area between 2 homes. That would be between, oh boy, what's the address on those? I think it's 12 Princeton Street.
Pleasant?
And, oh, yeah, that's incorrect. I think I might have put Pleasant instead of Princeton on this poll petition. Now that I'm
Yeah, it
looking at it
says
again.
12 Pleasant Street for the first one, 20 Pleasant Street for the second one, 340 and 346 Pleasant Street on the third, and then relocate 140 foot pole dead end at Pleasant Street. That's what they said.
Yeah, that's incorrect. That has to be redacted to Princeton Street for these 3 poll petitions. That was my fault. Is that something I have to resubmit?
Mr. President?
Who's that? Counselor Bartley?
Yeah, the short answer is yes.
Yeah, because I think
Okay.
because it was notice for Pleasant Street.
Yes.
But you
Yeah.
might want to talk to legal, Mr. President. Suspend, talk to legal, but I.
Second that motion.
Motion is to allow legal to answer. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Crystal, are you there?
I am. I'm in agreement with all of you. It would have to get resubmitted. There needs to be adequate notice. So
Okay. All right, so with that issue, motion would be to keep them on the table so they can resubmit.
So moved.
Counselor Tallman.
Yeah, on the one for Pleasant Street, that one's correct. Could that be done, or are we gonna wait to do all of them together?
Which one?
The third one, I believe that is correct, 340, 346 Pleasant. And
Is that
Yes,
correct,
that
Vin?
one's correct.
Yeah.
All right, so why
Yeah,
don't
that
we-
one's
so that one is filed correctly.
correct.
All right, so we have down 1 poll, class 2 on between 340, 346 Pleasant Street. Did we lose you, Vin?
Somebody mute themselves.
Who's running water?
Vin, are you there?
Yeah, sorry. Yep, that is correct. Yep, 340, 346 Pleasant Street. That is a correct location.
Okay. So would we want to take 1, 2, and 4, keep them on the table because improper notice? And
Then we
then
give
we'll
them leave
proceed
to withdraw since
Yeah, I'm going to second the leave to withdraw motion
leave to
because
withdraw? Okay.
I think so.
All right. So 1, 2, and 4 give leave to withdraw. Is there a second?
Without anybody
prejudice.
being prejudiced. Yeah, you know that. Yeah.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? So back to 3. And can you give us an update on this one, just so everyone's on the same page, Vin?
Oh, sure. So this is adjacent to Fairfield Ave. This is we're going to be doing some work on Pleasant Street. We're going to be transitioning approximately 20 residents from their backyard electric services to a front yard electric service. This is probably going to be started in the next month or two. And we only need 1 pole on all of Pleasant Street in order to facilitate this because of the distance between poles in that one section.
Is this going to be for the Valley Heights area?
No.
No. Okay. Just want to make sure because I know those are going to be coming up at some point, aren't they?
I'm actually not 100% on that. I've been participating in a little bit. My understanding is that Verizon is going to be actually submitting the poll petitions for that area. I think we might submit 1 single poll petition if it, if it ends up becoming agreed with Verizon and whatever parties are involved.
Okay. Any questions, Counselor Tallman?
No, I'm all set.
All
I'd
right.
like to make a motion to approve the petition for 340, 346 Pleasant Street.
Second.
Counselor Bartley?
Wait to see if there's any public comment. don't we?
Yeah, we're going to go to that
Yeah.
next. Counselor
That's all I was
Bartley?
going to have you do is just see if the public wants to speak.
All right. So if there's no questions from the counselors,
No.
seeing none, is there anyone from the public with regards to item 3, 340 and 346 Pleasant Street? If you could raise your hand in the participation box. Seeing none, hearing none. Motion would be to close the public hearing.
Motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
All those in favor?
All right.
All opposed? Now the motion from Counselor Tallman was to approve
Grant the petition.
item
Second.
3. So all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Approved. Public comment is next. Is there anyone here for public comment? If so, please go to the participations.
Oh, no, it's good. Actually, hold on, hold on.
Okay.
No, that's perfect. Hold on.
Mr.
So
President?
if you're here for public comment, I will go down and pull the names up. I'll call your name. Please give your full name, address, and please understand that with public comment, we do have a time limitation of 1:30. When we get to about a minute, I'll just politely let you know and kind of wrap up towards then. First, I see Nev Capron, if I'm saying that correct.
Yeah, it's fine. It's real. It's not really. Yeah, it's good. Do you want me to talk?
All right. So we'll turn it over to you. Full name and address, please.
Oh, sure. My name is Nev or Nancy Caper, and I live at 72 Congress Ave, Holyoke. And I was going to speak to the Rebecca's number 25 and a little bit beyond my own opinions. I believe it's important to have public comment and input in the determination of the allocation of funds that are about to be received by Holyoke under the American Rescue Act plan of 2021. I believe that the comments period should take place prior to any decisions being made, and then also after decisions have been made prior to the disbursement of these funds. I feel like there's a sufficient amount of time for public comment because you're allowed to actually the period of time that that these funds can be asked for goes up to like December 31st, 2024. So I think that the citizens of Holyoke are entitled to watch the proceedings or have access to the proceedings of the quote Holyoke COVID response team, unquote, and that all written materials should be accessible by whatever public information laws apply to city government. After the monies are dispersed to private nonprofits, these entities should account for where their money is being spent, and that information should be made available to the public. All of these allocations and
You're at 1
expenditures.
minute, just let you know, 1 minute.
And expenditures will have a paper trail, and I don't believe that making this information accountable to the public would be an undue burden. Furthermore, in regards to rent relief portion of the stimulus money, whether Holyoke chooses the VOC or Wayfinders to disperse these funds, the chosen agency should submit to the City of Holyoke and the public a weekly accounting of the number of rent relief applications processed and then number of monetary disbursements. If the chosen entity cannot process these requests in a timely manner, then the city needs to find an efficient manner to disperse the funds to landlords. In the I have an acquaintance who owns a
We're at our
property
time.
here.
If you can just
All right, thanks. That's it.
no problem. Just want to make sure if you can just finish up.
No, so a friend of mine, her renter never got their application process. They've gone back to work, and the person's lost half a year's rent and probably won't be able to recoup that because the application process is so fraught with difficulty. Thanks.
All right. Thank you very much.
Mr. President,
Counselor Anderson Burgos.
I just want to say something. Everybody who's listening, everybody on Zoom, please pay respects by putting yourself on mute. When people are talking, it is very important for the city council to listen to what people are trying to say and convey to us. So please, out of the kindness of my heart, I plead with you, put your microphone on mute. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Next, I have JR.
My name is John Rivera.
Can you increase the volume a little bit? We can hardly hear you. Are you there?
All right. Is that better?
Yeah, can hear you now.
Yep. My name is John Rivera, and I live on Laurel Street. And I just wanted to back what Nev was going on about item 24. I believe that the public deserves full transparency and, of course, a say how that money is allocated and spent for. And I'll leave my comments there.
All right, thank you very much. Anyone else? Let me scroll through.
Mr. President,
Yeah,
as a
Counselor.
point of
hang on.
clarification, that would have been item 25.
25.
What,
Okay.
our constituent JR referred to, item 25.
Okay, item 25. Seeing no one further for public comment, we'll move on to communications. 5.
Oh, come on.
Receive.
How do I raise a hand?
5 is to receive. This is,
Todd,
yeah.
excuse me, Todd, it looks like there's someone at the bottom trying to speak
Oh,
for public
hold on.
comment.
Someone trying to
button.
speak?
Okay,
Stephen
Rosenbusch, I
Rauschenbach.
don't know how to, how to raise my hand. I apologize.
No problem. So Steve, name, address, and we'll turn it over to you.
Yes, okay, I know the rules. Steve Rosenbusch, 1155 Northampton Street. And I guess that's all you need to know. Okay, I have two things to address, so I'll try to talk quickly. The most important thing, I'm getting an echo here. That's terrible. The most important thing, I think, do you still have sound?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Still hearing me? Okay.
Yep.
The most important thing, I think, is that I noticed on the agenda there are a number of people who are going to be reappointed, and I think we make a grave error by allowing any lame duck politician to fill all the available slots with his friends.
Can you mute that person?
Jeff, can you mute everyone but Steve?
Reappointment are non-controversial and probably will be loved and reappointed by a new mayor, whoever he or she may be, but I think we should allow
Jeff,
the
can you
new
get
mayor
that background
to do
noise?
so I would like to propose that either the incumbents be allowed to serve on a temporary basis, or that they be reappointed for a term to end, say, 6 months after the start of a new mayor. So that's just my thought. Otherwise, Alex Morse will continue to dominate politics here for another 3 to 6 years. And I don't think that's
just over a minute.
The intention of this body. My second comment is directed towards the Libby's proposal about indigenous peoples. And I'm a historian. I have personally employed about 43 people, and nearly half, I believe, are of Puerto Rican descent. I never asked. I simply said, I simply asked, do you speak Spanish? Because my
Steve, you're at a little over 140,
fluent,
so if we can wrap it up.
And it would be good for her mentally if you practice her. My point is, many of my Puerto Rican employees and the HG&E heating man who came here this morning are lighter skinned than I am. And when I talked to him about it,
Steve,
he
that
said,
is
"You're
your time."
absolutely right. I am probably the offspring of conquistadors. So the fact is, I don't want to. I don't think we should be
all right, Steve,
eliminating
Steve,
them.
this is our
I think we
time,
should
okay?
Honor our Puerto Rican.
Steve, I'm gonna have to say that it's out of order now because you're over your time limit. So we're gonna move on. We have to move on, Steve.
I would like to say that I was.
All right, thank you. So with that, we're going to move on to item 5, which we said was to receive. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Item 6.
Item 6, 7, and 8 be referred to public service.
Second.
6, 7, and 8 to public service. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed?
Mr. President, just under discussion.
Yeah, Counselor Bartley first.
Here, are these not reappointments? And do we not just reappoint them?
Give me a second.
I mean, you've got.
Yeah, they're all reappointments.
All these are reappointments.
I think all three are reappointments.
Yeah. So we normally just approve those. Yes.
I'd be inclined to just make a motion reconsider, then a motion to approve.
All right. So, well, when we were doing the vote, no one was really voting yet. So the motion is it was to send a committee. The call wasn't taken yet. If we want, we can say motion is to reappoint.
Motion to reappoint the three nominees.
Second.
Counselor Murphy.
Yeah, and the reason, and I do think there's some merit, even they are reappointments, and I understand that, but I do think two things happen if you bring someone who's being reappointed in. It gives us a better understanding of exactly what they're working on and what their goals are. And nothing against any of these people, but I do think it gives us a greater input in terms of what needs to get done in these various areas, what the challenges are, and what we might do. And obviously, if we don't bring them in, I mean, I know several of them, and I'm not questioning any of their abilities, but I do think it does provide us with some information. And if someone is serving, my gut is they would not mind coming in and saying, this is what we've been trying to do, this is what we are hoping to do, and this is what we need from the city council to be able to do that. And if not, then that's fine. But I think it makes some sense to just bring people in and get an understanding of where all these commissions are going and what they're doing and what their challenges are. Thank you.
Counselor Leahy.
Yes, thank you. And I hear what Councilor Murphy is saying. I think that is important, making sure that a lot of these positions are appointed for 2 years, 3 years, some 4 years. However,
I can't hear.
Yeah. We're having a little trouble with audio, Jim.
Bad.
Yeah, Jimmy, it's your mic, your speaker.
Bad.
Type it into the chat, maybe, just to make the comment.
See if you can try and fix it. Anyone else while Counselor Leahy is fixing his mic? Counselor McGivern. You're on mute, Counselor. Still on mute. There you go.
All right. I understand I think what Councilor Leahy's saying. I won't speak for him, but I appreciate what Councilor Murphy's saying. And I know Councilor Murphy will be at the Public Service Committee to talk to these reappointments, but the questions will be asked, and these are questions that have already been answered. And it's just, if we really want to do this, then 13 city councilors should show up and ask questions.
I know for me, with regards to the Commission on Disabilities, I know they've had issues in the sense of keeping their numbers in order to get our handicap areas reviewed and get us a report so that we can get those signs up as fast as possible for residents. So this person's been doing a very good job, and they're back again to help out. So to me, reappointments for these positions where they've been doing their due diligence and we've never heard anything other than good, I'd say the reappointment should be confirmed. Counselor Bartley.
Yeah, I normally I would agree with Counselor Murphy on something, because if a counselor wants to hear from an applicant, I normally would just withdraw my motion. But in this case, these are all well-known people with whom I'm in touch already on a regular basis, and I know for at least 2 of them they're in regular contact with me. So I think that if a counselor has a question mark, you can reach out, and if you have trouble getting contact intel, perhaps our administrative assistant could advise. But so in these 3 cases, these are veteran commission members, so I would tend to think that they're pretty well established, and we've asked most of our questions. So I would just renew my motion.
Second.
Counselor Murphy.
Yeah, just one, and I wonder if maybe this could happen, if we could approve the reappointments, but send a copy to public service and just ask if they would like to come to the committee and offer their update on what's going on with it. Then they're not forced to come, but they are given an opportunity to advocate in their position and to go over whatever issues might be there.
Yeah, absolutely, you could do that. So motion is to reappoint with a copy to public service to ask them to come
Mr.
in for
President?
updates. Councilor Graney, were you there?
Yeah, I've dealt with some of these people. These are reappointments. There's no need to bring them in before the public service. These are reappointments. They have all done a good job in the past, and they'll continue to do a good job in the future. Thank you.
Yep. Just to understand, Councilor Graney, its motion is to do the reappointment with a copy to public service just to see if they want to come in and give updates. But they would be reappointed if we vote.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So the motion is to reappoint 6, 7, and 8. 6 is for the Commission on Disabilities, which the term would expire March 2024. 7 is for the Historic Commission. It would expire April 1st, 2024. And the last one is the Conservation Commission, which it would be a 3-year term to expire on February 1st, 2024. With regards to all 3, motion is to reappoint. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And with a copy of public service.
With a copy to public service.
Okay, thank you.
All right. 9 is from a special permit annual report from the BUD. Motion is
You just had the
received.
ordinance.
Send to ordinance. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? 10 is from West
DGR.
Springfield to DGNR.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? 11 is from Hoyoke notice of finding no significant impact on a notice of intent to request release of funds.
Stephen, refer to finance.
Send to finance. All those in
Could I-
favor?
Can I make a?
Sir, Council Murphy.
Just, I know it's a release of funds, but I also think maybe DGR for this reason. As I understand it, and this is something I've been advocating for, this is potentially 3 houses that we're planning on Hoyoke Housing Authority is working with, the homeless shelter people that build homes and they can't, Habitat for Humanity, Habitat for Humanity, to build 3 houses. So, I mean, it is a development and a government relations thing on the corner of Chestnut and Jackson. So,
okay, so DGNR you want to go to?
Just through the chair, Mr. Chairman.
Yep.
Through the chair to Councilor Murphy. Terry, can you? Because I don't even know what this is, but if it's for development, it should go DGR. But is this something we can? Is there somebody coming to talk to us on March 29th about this?
I would think. Where we had the huge fire on Jackson and Chestnut about 25, 30 years ago, Councilor McGivern, you and I were there in our younger days. And now they have been able to get a purchase agreement, and they are planning on building 3 homes, which are also part of their goal is to improve overlooking the park. So it's a little more safe to be in the park in the nighttime. So.
All right, thank you.
All right, so this will go to hold on, Councilor McGivern next.
The issue here, and we can certainly vet this out in committee, it should be in DGR, but we should vet this out in committee, is that's the land that was proposed for the middle school. And we have a reverter type deal with the Hoyoke Housing Authority. So we got to make sure we have a full understanding of what's going on.
Yeah, thank you, Joe. So maybe March 29th, we can add that, Jeff.
Okay. So this one, 11 to DGNR. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? 12 is a flyer from the Hoyoke Healthy Homes Program.
Motion receive.
Motion is to receive. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed?
Could I just make a quick comment on that? I'm sorry.
Councilor Murphy.
Yeah, just, I mean, we've been working in public safety on trying to improve conditions for people with asthma. And this Holyoke Healthy Homes Project has been working with us, and we had a very good meeting the other day. And I just want to thank them for getting active and knowing that we were trying to look at some asthma relief issues, and they've stepped up. So I just want to make sure that whenever we can, we partner with them to improve, especially in the apartment buildings where we have so many asthma cases. Thank you.
Next is petitions 13, a petition for marijuana manufacturing establishment.
Ordinance.
To ordinance. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Next is 14, a petition for gas electric department requesting permission to locate a line and wire cables for 41 Taylor Street.
Receive, lay on the table, and set the public hearing.
Receive it to lay on the table and set the public hearing. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? President's report quickly. I did have a meeting along with Councilor Lisi and Councilor Murphy with regards to the schools and kind of the update of where the MSBA is. We will have a meeting tomorrow. It's the joint committee of the city council and the school department. I believe that's at 6. Hopefully I got that time right. Of which we'll be discussing all the orders that we put in with regards to the building of a new school and how the process will go. Within that, there is a request for a resolution by the city council to support the building of one school, whether it's Peck or Chestnut or what have you. But that's one of the things they're looking for, because there would be a June deadline, or roughly a June deadline for the MSBA as to keep us on the fast track if we are planning to build a school, a new middle school. So tomorrow's meeting will occur. There will most likely come back a request for resolution, but I wanted to give that update from the meeting that we had. Another issue is the HR department or personnel. They are leaving at the end of the month, of which we had 3 candidates. None were residents of Holyoke, and none's been submitted to us in order to fill the position. So we will have a vacancy in our personnel department, leaving 1 person. We have an acting treasurer, an acting tax collector. Within all these departments, we have almost half staff to almost no staff. So we have an issue in the sense of trying to get these positions filled so that we can provide the services to the city and our residents. I bring it up because every time I turn around, there's another update coming to me with regards to these departments. So I have to be aware of this and not see it as a shock. But at the end of the month, we're not going to have a personnel director for the city of Holyoke. Councilor Lisi.
Thank you. I just wanted to note that ordinance committee is set to take up the residency requirement order that I believe you filed at the last meeting on the 23rd, so next Tuesday.
Yep. And just to be clear on that, I know we all want Holyoke residents and to have Holyoke jobs, but right now, if none are applying and we have no one in these positions, we have a problem. Next would be if there's any other updates that I might have missed. Seeing none, I'll go on to reports of committees. First is Ordinance Committee, 15A. Committee on Ordinance was referred in order that the handicap sign be placed at 199 Beach Street. Recommended that be adopted. Councilor.
Thank you. Let's take up with B as a package. So suspend the necessary rules and take up both as a package.
Suspend the rules, take up B and B as a package. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? I read A. B is Committee on Ordinance who was referred a handicap sign be placed at 77 Elm Street. Recommended that that be adopted as well.
Be received and motion to pass the first reading.
Motion is to receive and adopt, pass the first reading. Under discussion.
These are handicap placards. They have been recommended by the Commission on Disabilities, and so the Committee on Ordinance is recommending their adoption.
Any comments, any questions for these 2 locations? Seeing none. Motion is passed the first reading. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed?
Motion to pass the second reading?
Motion is passed the second reading. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed?
And motion that the passage be ordained.
Motion that the passage be ordained. The clerk will call the roll. If you vote yes, you're voting for A and B.
Anderson Burgos,
Yes.
Bartley,
Yes.
Graney,
Yes.
Hernandez,
Yes.
Leahy, LeBron Martinez,
Yes.
Lisi,
Yes.
McGee,
Yes.
McGivern,
Yes.
Murphy,
Yes.
Sullivan,
Yes.
Tolman,
Yes.
Bacon.
Yes.
Unanimous vote.
With your vote, you approved the handicap signs. 15C, Committee on Ordinance, who was referred a zone change application from RA to BH for 405 Ingleside Street. Recommended that the application be given leave to withdraw without prejudice. Counselor Lisi.
Motion to receive the committee report and adopt.
Motion is receive, adopt, under discussion.
We went through a public hearing with the applicant, and it became very clear that it would be a spot zone, and the applicant withdrew their application after understanding sort of the parameters that we were working with. And we felt that that was a wise choice on the applicant's part, and so we gave it leave to withdraw at his request without prejudice.
Any questions? Anyone?
I'll just note that it seemed also that the applicant is working with the Economic Development Department to find a better suited location for his project.
Okay. So motion that it be given leave to withdraw without prejudice. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Off to finance.
Can make a motion to suspend the rules to take up 16A and 16P together.
Motion to suspend the rules, take up A and B. All those in
B.
favor?
Aye.
16A
All
and
those
16
opposed?
P as in Peter.
Oh, A and
P.
Yeah, we're on the two extremes.
okay. Let me get there. Give me a second. All right, A and P. A is Committee on Finance, who was referred that the Finance Committee invite in Tanya Campbell from Melanson Heath to discuss the 2020 certification for free cash, complied with. P is referred in order to discuss the 2019 audit from the same area, also that's been complied with. Motion to receive, adopt, that's been complied with. Under discussion, Councilor McGivern.
Thank you, Mr. President. This meeting actually took place on March 1st. Even though it was before our last city council meeting, we chose to report it out for tonight so as not to rush it on March 2nd. We met and we had a great attendance from the city council, so I'll just summarize real quick. Was a wonderful discussion with Tanya Campbell. She's been with Melanson and Heath for 15 years. Melanson and Heath has been the city's independent outside auditor for all of close to 3 decades, I believe. Her credentials speak for themselves. She's made these presentations on several years before the Finance Committee. The item number 1 is a report that we received at the end of November last year, which was both the full audit and a management letter of the fiscal 2019 audit report. On the management letter, there were a total of 15 items that were noted. 13 items that were noted. Some were the city was in good shape, others the city was not in good shape, and a couple the city was flunking out. We went through each of these items in detail with questions that were asked. There weren't too many surprises, but we certainly, and actually, because this was fiscal year 2019, some of the city responses have already been adhered to. Both our auditor and city department heads have taken, financial directors have taken note of a number of the insufficiencies that that the audit points out. The detailed report, everybody has a copy of it. It's not the easiest reading in the world because it is done by accounting, and I understand the language of finance, but I've never understand accountants other than that we need them, and we need to trust them just like planners. But on item number 1, we did have a full detailed report. I'm not going to go through each of the 13 items, but be glad to answer any questions if there are any.
Any questions for A or P?
Item number 2, I think there may be a few questions, if I could, Mr. President.
Sure.
The motion is that it was also complied with. It was an order filed by myself, similar to what we did last year, and that was to hear from our independent auditor on what reports for fiscal 2020 she gave to the Department of Revenue, Department of Local Services in terms of our deficiencies. Some of the items that she cited were the items that led to the, not just grants, but the deficiencies within the budget itself that offset what would have been free cash. We know, and for it's several years, but we know the past 2 years, this has really been in the forelight, mostly because it's given us a negative figure of free cash. We found out that when we voted on the tax rate this year, we thought we were at 0 for free cash and ended up 300,000 plus in the hole. But with that in mind, we went through the what was reported to us in terms of the budget and the final, before we took the vote on the tax rate itself, the final budget, and then we went through item by item if anybody had questions on some of the grants and some of the items that were deficient at the last year, which this particular look is done before, but June 30th. What we did learn from Tanya is that before June 30th, the report goes out, Department of Revenue goes out. We know Department of Revenue doesn't certify free cash sometimes till October, November, and occasionally December. But we learned that any of these discrepancies that are noted by the outside auditor can be made whole for the 3 months of the next fiscal year, being July, August, and September. No, we've got the new policy in place by our auditor, Tanya Dojek, and Tanya is working with department heads, especially in the area of grants. So if there's a reimbursement that should have took place in before June 30th, but took place in July or August, that can be made whole and taken off the list of being deficient by the outside auditor herself. So that was good. It was good news. She's very supportive of what our auditor's doing, and quite frankly, she didn't say it, but I think she was telling us it's about time we have an auditor that was doing it. We're not blaming the person who was our acting auditor, whatsoever. Note that when Bellamy Smith was appointed by the mayor, he didn't own the job, and it wasn't his area. He did a fantastic job in keeping the city's head above water. But at the same time, I think a lot of this happened during that watch, and we're looking forward to it being corrected for future years, and maybe we can see some free cash in the next couple of years coming. But the discussion, there was a lot of questions in this area. We spent more time on this than fiscal 2019. Some items we learned, and a couple of department heads were with us, but one of the items we learned, and it's going to be corrected because I think it was a fluke, but was the Chapter 90s monies in the DPW budget showed a pretty high deficiency there. And then there were some items we talked about, within the school department, and the fact that we are in receivership. The school committee has no line item control. We have no line item control. We don't even vote and never have voted on the grants that they receive. And in essence, Chapter 70 is one big grant. We just like to know why the state is like penalizing the state itself. And she didn't really have comment on that, but took note of it. We brought up a few points of items that, we're not too sure why the taxpayer is responsible for something that the revenue source is not from tax dollars whatsoever. Scholarships from prior schools at the graduating schools, alumni at the high school, things of that nature, and a few other areas that we just thought were inappropriately, being penalized in terms of our budget. Discussion was good. She feels we're making good headway towards a better handle of our budget. We talked a little bit about the fact that DOR/DLS is still promoting that we hire a chief financial officer. We talked about, well, we're looking at not dismantling our government, but certainly going to be talking about combining the tax collector and the treasurer and seeing if we can make some realigning of those departments without taking away the checks and balance of the city council. And the discussion went on for a long time. So with that, I think just about everybody was there, but if anybody has any questions, we'll try to answer them.
Any questions with regards to A and P? Councilor Lisi, you're on mute. Okay, there you go.
Thanks. Thanks. I just wanted to note that the meeting was really informative, and there was a PowerPoint that Tanya from Mellonton and Heath was going through, and I was just wondering if the chair received a copy of that PowerPoint, or if we received it anywhere along the way.
We did request a copy of it be sent to our administrative assistant. I would have to defer. I'm not sure if we have. I believe, if I remember, Tanya said she would provide it.
Great. Okay, so it's out there, and I'll follow up with Jeffrey offline here. Thank you.
Anyone further? Seeing none. Motion is that these two have been complied with. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? 16B, the Committee on Finance was referred an order memorandum of understanding between the Holyoke Public Schools and the Holyoke Police Department, recommended that be adopted.
Your motion to receive and adopt.
Motion is receive and adopt. Under discussion, Councilor McGivern.
Thank you, Mr. President. We had a lengthy discussion about the school resource officers during our budget hearings last June, and we noted that there were some issues in how the schools reimburse the city. At this meeting, we found out from our auditor, and we found out that the reimbursement prior to Tanya Dojek taking over was a check was cut by the schools and given to the police department, which was then deposited into certain line items of either salary or overtime. My jaw kind of dropped because it's a big no-no. And I'm happy to report that our auditor has corrected that. It was one of the things that she corrected very short in her tenure. You cannot deposit money into any expense line item within the budget whatsoever unless it goes through proper channels, which is either being certified as free cash, received as a receivable, and appropriately deposited through the proper channels. So that has since been corrected. It wasn't anything other than the schools doing what is their responsibility. It's just the way they were doing it. The schools are responsible for paying for 2 resource officers. At the auditor's suggestion and with the help of the law department, they mapped out this MOU to clarify what the city side is responsible for and what the schools are responsible for in terms of reimbursement. And this puts it in writing. Our adopting it this evening is just solidifying it, and that we agree. And I think we said that at the budget hearings last June, that the schools should be paying for these 2 officers. Our auditor, Tanya Dojek, has taken this out of the coming budget in terms of a line item and put it and charged it to the schools themselves, which will be much clearer this June when we see the budget.
Any questions or comments?
We're losing.
Councilor LeBron Martinez. Councilor, did you
I'm
say
sorry,
something?
it's just that I couldn't hear, sort of like it was breaking up. I don't know if everybody's.
It did break up for a second, but it's been okay for now. Did you have a question, Councilor? No?
Councilor McGee?
I think
Councilor Leahy. Hold on,
Sorry,
Counselor
it's just the
Leahy.
internet is going in and out. I was wondering if
I keep losing her. Did someone hear that?
Yeah, no, I lost her too. But can you hear me okay now?
Yeah, Counselor Leahy, I can hear you.
Turns out that we have 1, 2, 3, and 3 other iPhone headphones somewhere in this house, and it was picking up some other headphones, and the one that it's picking up I cannot find. So I'm going through the phone now.
All right. Well, welcome back. Counselor LeBron Martinez.
Thank
Okay. So here is that this is recommended that we receive and adopt. All those in favor?
Second. Aye.
All opposed? All right, so on to.
Mr. President, can we have a roll call on that? Because it's
You want a roll call for that one? Okay. I didn't know if there was a transfer, but.
It's a contract.
Clerk,
I think we do by roll call.
okay, so clerk will call roll. If you vote yes, you're voting for adopting the MOU.
Anderson Burgos,
Remember to unmute.
Yes.
Bartley,
Yes.
Graney,
Yes.
Hernandez,
Yes.
Leahy,
Yes.
Yes.
LeBron Martinez,
yes. I'm all set.
Lisi,
Thank you.
Yes.
McGee,
Yes.
McGivern,
Yes.
Murphy,
Yes.
Sullivan,
Yes.
Tallman,
Yes.
Bacon.
Yes.
Unanimous vote.
Your vote, you have adopted the MOU. 16C, Committee on Finance was referred that $3,825 be authorized from Computer Systems Department software licensing appropriation in fiscal year 21 for services rendered in 2020, which were unencumbered at the end of 2020 year. Recommended that be adopted.
Make a motion to receive, pass the first reading.
Motion is receive, adopt, pass the first reading. Councilor McGivern.
It speaks for itself, but this was a bill that was essentially, our auditor said was misplaced by the IT department. And Wally, it's just an invoice from Wally that needs to be paid. Because it's this year's monies for last year's invoice, we have to adopt it this year.
Questions? Seeing none. Motion is passed the first reading. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed?
Motion to pass the second reading.
Motion is passed the second reading. The clerk will call the roll. If you vote yes, you're voting for 16C.
Anderson Burgos,
Yes.
Bartley,
Yes.
Graney,
Yes.
Hernandez,
Yes.
Leahy,
Yes.
LeBron Martinez,
Yes.
Lisi,
Yes.
McGee,
Yes.
McGivern,
Yes.
Murphy,
Yes.
Sullivan,
Yes.
Tallman,
Yes.
Bacon.
Yes.
Unanimous vote.
Or your vote, you approve the transfer. 16D, the Committee on Finance was referred in order that the sum of $140,000 is appropriate to pay the costs of the Hoyoke Police Department 4 cruisers and all payments and all costs incidental related to. This would be motions receive, adopt.
Motion to
Councilor
receive,
McGivern.
pass the first reading.
Yep, and pass the first reading. Councilor McGivern.
Thank you. The Finance Committee has vetted this out with the Hoyoke Police Department. Lieutenant John Hart was with us. Our auditor was with us. And essentially the recommendation is that for the purchase of these 4 cruisers, unmarked cruisers, that this would be bonded for. Just a little bit of background. Lieutenant Hart, gave us a rundown on the fleet of unmarked cruisers. They currently have 11, not 11 online. The oldest is 18 years old and is one of the ones that will definitely be replaced. The next 2 are 16 years old, followed by a 15-year-old, and then the rest of them are over 10 years old, between 10 and 12 years old themselves. Unmarked cruisers, we learned, unlike the marked cruisers, do not operate 24/7. They're used for a variety of reasons. Detectives use them when they're staking out or doing unmarked duty doing unmarked duties themselves. Administrative tasks are performed, cruisers are checked out. They have one officer, Officer Villamary, Detective Villamary is in charge of the pool. If you need to check out a car, you have to go through him. You do so in advance. The gas is pumped through the city DPW station itself. And the age of the fleet and the necessity of having these vehicles was part of what we heard, and one of the reasons that we recommend that we do take the steps to purchase the vehicles themselves. The life expectancy is 10 years. Meaning before, we dealt with the life expectancy of some big vehicles for the DPW and the fire department, and there's so much difference. But what we did find out is the interest rates are still down, and there are opportunities to bond for shorter periods of time, which we learned both this conversation and at the last finance committee meeting. We found out for a two-year bond, the interest rate would be 1%, but you'd be paying about $2,000. 70,000 would go up to about $70,000, $71,000. The 3-year bond is also 1%, but it would increase to $2,750, but the total length would be $45,000, $50,000. And 4-year bond would be $3,500, looking at between $35,000 and $36,000 a year payments. The note that when we bond, the total amount is $140,000. When we bond, the city treasurer, and it's right in the language that you read this evening, Mr. President, the city treasurer, the mayor, the city treasurer makes the best deal they possibly can for the city at the appropriate time. You don't bond for money until you start paying off of something. In this case, it would be when the bill came in. In order to get these cruisers, it's not as lengthy of a period of time as the marked cruisers to fit them out with all the necessary items that go with an unmarked vehicle, but it does take some time. We did ask for what the rates were going for lease to own. They're still much higher than the bonding itself, and we did ask if that was vetted out. And the auditor and the police department both talked about it, but they agreed, and the finance committee agreed that the cheaper route in the long run would be to bond for these for the best deal that the treasurer can get. Bonds, the language itself allows treasurers to refinance at any given moment, so we don't get to pick and choose the length. We just get to pay the amount, and then the treasurer does their job, and I think the numbers speak for themselves. Quite frankly, each of them are a pretty good deal. I know we have some of our own opinions as to which one might be better, but in a month or two or 4 months or 6 months, some of those numbers could change. But the finance committee recommends that out of necessity that we do bond for these 4 unmarked cruisers and do so as quickly as possible so they can be both out to bid and purchased. The lieutenant did tell us that they would, through a state contract and allowed through Mass General Law, they would be looking to work with a local dealer, being Marquardt Ford itself. The committee recommends to adopt.
Counselor Leahy.
Yes, thank you. Can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Okay, perfect. Okay, yeah, no, it was an excellent meeting. We got a lot of information. And as Councilor McGivern said, this is something that's out of necessity. What I was talking about was the OPM, using other people's money. The interest rate for the short-term and also long-term bond is 1%. It might go up a little bit. That's basically free money. If we lease to own, which I spoke out against numerous times that evening, I just think that is it's not practical, and it's not using the city of Holyoke's money effectively. I also talked about how we should bond with these vehicles, and we should also combine it with the Department of Public Works. Everybody in the city of Holyoke knows that they need some trucks. This is what we should do. We should combine them all and go out for a long-term bond. Thank you.
Counselor Bartley.
Yep. So I'm just going to elaborate on what the chair just said. So the city council, not only do we get to pick the amount, we get to confirm the purpose. So that was the so-called amendment named after me. I didn't name it, but that's what we passed on a near unanimous vote 5 years ago. no, it's actually 6 years ago, relative to bonds. So let me clarify that. We verify the amount and we verify the purpose. Second of all, what was not discussed earlier, but what's going to be, I'm just going to mention now again, is the reason we can bond at such low rates is because of our strong stabilization balance. So not dropping $1 million as the mayor proposed, and we eviscerated that multiple proposals last month. Over $1 million in wasted funds, as we turns out, a quick call to bond counsel by the soon-to-be ex-mayor would have discerned that pretty readily. You know, we had to sit through a multi-hour meeting to figure that out, and unfortunately, we had a Hail Mary pass at the last second, but because we got bond counsel, so that brought us a mea culpa moment at our February 24th meeting. Nevertheless, we still had a 100,000 power play on a stabilization at the March 2nd meeting, despite that. But we eviscerated that by an 11-2 vote. So it was again, not my words, it was the auditor's words. It's the strong position of the stabilization account that has kept us going. And that is, you know, thanks to those who established it years before I got on the board. But hopefully a new mayor will come in and respect that and preserve it. Last point is Sergeant Hart, while I wasn't particularly inclined to vote for this initially, certainly Sergeant Hart made a great argument, and it made a lot of sense. So I just the taxpayer should know that this is I think ultimately it's going to be a terrific deal for the police department and for those that keep us safe. I just want the president, I'll point to the president, to others that this is going to be this is per Sergeant Hart, once every 4 or 5 years. This is not going to be a regular item, unlike the marked cruisers, which we now have a kind of a lease to own thing, which we established a few years ago. And that seems to be going pretty well, to have a regular rotation in the fleet. I just want to point those things out for the record. Thank you, Mr. President.
Anyone further? Seeing no one. So the motion here is to pass the first reading. All those in favor?
Second.
Aye. All opposed?
Motion to pass the second reading?
Motion is to pass the second reading. The
Second.
clerk will call the roll. If you vote yes, you're voting for the 140 for new cruisers.
Anderson Burgos,
Yes.
Bartley,
Yes.
Rainey,
Yes.
Hernandez,
Yes.
Leahy,
Yes.
LeBron Martinez,
Yes.
Lisi,
Yes.
McGee,
Yes.
McGivern,
Yes.
Murphy,
Yes.
Sullivan,
Yes.
Tallman,
Yes.
Bacon.
Yes.
Unanimous vote.
With your vote, you approve that one. 16E is next. Community on Finance was referred that $815 from office and professional supplies to overtime. Recommend that be adopted. So receive, adopt, pass the first reading or discussion. Councilman
Thank you, Mr. President. We did have Mike McManus in with us on a number of items. On this particular item, Mr. McManus told us that this is in the sewer department, so to speak, with the clerical people who get assigned to do the billing for the sewer department. We've heard the nightmare stories of what's been going on through COVID in terms of people not paying their bills and what the department's been trying to do because they cannot shut off, because the water department cannot shut off water. We don't have the leverage that we usually do, but they have been working diligently to try to get some of those sewer bills up to date. So he told us that the office professional supplies, the 815 is coming from, there's a surplus there. He will not need anything for the rest of the year. And he just asking that we transfer it into the overtime account. We're in agreement. The question was asked, do clerical people qualify for overtime? And historically, in that department, I know that it's not rare, but it's sometimes associated with snowstorms. A clerical person is brought in to be dispatched and to answer the phones in terms of blizzards going on, and people are calling the DPW. So it's not out of whack. They are per diem employees, so they can and do from time to time receive overtime. The committee voted 4-0 to recommend that this transfer be approved.
Any questions? Motion is to pass the first reading. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those
Aye.
opposed?
Motion to pass the second reading?
Motion is passed the second reading. And clerk will
Second.
call the roll. If you vote yes, you're voting for the $815.
Anderson Burgos,
Yes.
Bartley,
Yes.
Rainey,
Yes.
Hernandez,
Yes.
Leahy,
Yes.
LeBron Martinez,
Yes.
Lisi,
Yes.
McGee,
Yes.
McGivern,
Yes.
Murphy, Murphy,
Seems to be off right
Sullivan,
now.
Yes.
Tallman,
Yes.
Bacon.
Yes.
12 yeas.
With your vote, you approve the transfer. 16F, the Committee on Finance to refer an order that there hereby be appropriate transfer of $11,750 from Highway and Bridges Demo Worker to Auto Equipment Maintenance and Overtime. I recommend that be adopted. So motion is receive, adopt, pass the first reading. Our discussion, Councilor
Second
McGivern.
motion.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mike McManus made a report on this request also. The money is coming from Highway, Bridges, and Demo workers. There was a position there, a employee there that was not filled for a good part of the year. There's a surplus came because of that. The transfer is into auto equipment maintenance. This is in relation to what we've been talking about for the last couple of months. The DPW fleet is in dire need of some replacement vehicles. We took that vote at our last meeting. We've learned that a number of the vehicles are, whether they're snowplows or trash trucks or dumpsters or the vehicles are in need and constantly being worked on and held together with Band-Aids. And this is where the fun discussion became, because what Mike told us, being Mike has always been transparent, is this particular line item, he spent about, he had about $12,000 to start. He has already spent over $8,000 over the $12,000. When he was done reporting it, you could tell that Mike was kind of looking at us, and I said, "Did you get yelled at?" And he says, "I did, Councilor McGivern." And the auditor let him know that you cannot spend what you don't have. It's a big no-no in Mass General Finance law. And Mike took full responsibility. He said, this, number of people that are paid out of this account, it was his responsibility to know that as they were working overtime, the line item depleted, and he should have seen it. He didn't. He felt bad, but being to be honest with you, I have nothing but respect for someone that takes responsibility for something that is necessary. And I think even if he came to us earlier, we would have passed it. The Finance Committee agrees to with the transfer to give him, to make him whole. It'll still give him, he's not promising he won't have to come back depending on how the repair vehicles go, but this will get him some money, pay for the $8,000 that he owes, and also pay for the to get through some months to come.
Any questions with this one? Seeing none. Motion is to pass the first reading. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed?
Motion to pass the second reading?
Motion is to pass the second reading. The clerk will call the roll. If you vote yes, you're voting for the transfer.
Anderson Burgos,
Yes.
Bartley,
Yes.
Rainey,
Yes.
Hernandez,
Yes.
Leahy,
Yes.
LeBron Martinez,
Yes.
Lisi,
Yes.
McGee,
Yes.
McGivern,
Yes.
Murphy,
Yes.
Sullivan,
Yes.
Tallman,
Yes.
Bacon.
Yes.
Unanimous vote.
With your vote, you approve the transfer. 16G, Committee on Finance, who has referred an order that $4,682 from Highway, Bridges, Demo Worker to Engineer Vacation Buyback, Recycling and Longevity for the $4,682. Recommend it be adopted. So receive, adopt, pass the first reading. Under discussion, Councilor McGivern.
Thank you, Mr. President. We also, Mike McManus was with us. Notice the same item where the money is coming from is that with that position, which has been vacant for a good part of the fiscal year, the demolition worker, which is $4,682 in this particular transfer. It's being divided into two areas. The first area is a buyback for the engineering vacation buyback. The city engineer put in for a request. I've called this the COVID request, where if the department head and the mayor, department head finding the money within their budget, agree, the employee can buy back a vacation time at a higher rate than usual because of COVID, because during COVID, it was very hard to take vacation, and a lot of people, quite frankly, didn't take or didn't use their vacation time. So that's the $3,232. The second part is for longevity in the refuse and recycling. This was it was missed at budget time. It should have been part of the budget. This is a group of, well, 12 to 13 employees. But Mike says it's around 11 that qualify at this point for some type of longevity. So as you can see, it's not a very large payment for longevity for an individual, but it is contractual stuff that they have coming. Mike is just looking to make his budget whole in this area. And again, he has identified it within his own budget. Committee recommends that this transfer be adopted.
Questions for Councilor McGivern? Seeing none, motion is to pass the first reading. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
Motion to pass the second reading?
Motion is passed the second reading. The clerk will call the roll. If you vote yes, you're voting for the transfer.
Anderson Burgos,
Yes.
Bartley, Graney,
Yes.
Hernandez,
Yes.
Leahy,
Yes.
LeBrun Martinez,
Yes.
Lisi,
Yes.
McGee,
Yes.
McGivern,
Yes.
Murphy,
Yes.
Sullivan,
Yes.
Tolman,
Yes.
Bacon.
Yes.
12 yeas.
With your vote, you approve that transfer. 16H, Committee on Finance has referred an order or request to transfer $19,755 from Assistant Solicitor to City Solicitor. Recommended that it be adopted. Motion be receive, adopt, pass the first reading. Councilor McGivern.
Mr. President, for purpose of discussion, although I think we'll end up voting on them separately, could we take up the items 16H, 16M, 16N, and 16O as a package for discussion, and we can vote separately.
Okay.
Second.
M, N, O. Motion to suspend the rules, take up H, M, N, and O. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? H, I read. M is Committee on Finance to refer an order that there hereby be appropriated $5,957 special counsel to City Solicitor. 16N is appropriate $5,733 from special counsel to City Solicitor. And the last one, 16O, is $5,196 from special counsel to City Solicitor. Councilor McGivern.
Thank you, Mr. President. At the last City Council meeting, we received a communication from the mayor, which noted two things. One, he was recognizing the city, Crystal Barnes, as the acting city solicitor since October of 2008, October 29th of 2018. And he was recognizing that he was in support and was asking that we do some transfers for retroactive pay to pay Crystal Barnes what would have been the salary of the city solicitor if it had been recognized, and it should have been recognized, quite frankly, prior to this. Note that we have had a number of discussions about this, not to pay, but over the last, especially the last several months, where you've been asking about the legal opinion coming from the law department, and the fact that if someone has not been appointed to the city solicitor, who actually signs off on the legal opinions. Well, come to find out, in this particular department, there's an ordinance that reads that when the city solicitor's office is vacated for whatever reason, the senior assistant city solicitor becomes the acting city solicitor for that purpose. We know that Crystal Barnes has gone even more and beyond that. Besides performing her duties as the attorney that's been assigned to the city council since I think for at least the past 6-7 years, she has also been performing all the duties of the city solicitor, managing the department, overseeing the employees in the department, working with the budget, working with the mayor, managing the budget, working with us in terms of executive session and all the lawsuits that are pending for the city itself. And of course, signing off, regardless of, an legal opinion can be written by almost any lawyer, but a legal opinion has no weight unless the signature of the city solicitor is adhered to it. So we took all that into consideration with the following suggestions of how to pay retroactive pay. Each of these line items are coming from the big one, $19,755, is actually coming from the line item which pays the assistant solicitor, and that's to transfer over for this year for the purpose of paying her at the rate which, now that she's been recognized, the auditor is able to pay her at the rate of the city solicitor itself. So that $19,755 is going into the line item for this year. There is some retroactive for this fiscal year, being that we're in March, but a bulk of that money there is to get through the rest of the fiscal year itself. The other three line items are coming from what she's identified as the special counsel line item, 5,957, special counsel 5,733, and special counsel 5,196. We talked about that first. We know we just put some money into it, and she pointed out that she has enough money left to pay our labor council, which is paid by contract, and I think we're aware of how that works, and to pay some of the bills that are pending before the city. She said she did this with knowing that she just lost another lawyer. She's down, I think, at least two attorneys in the office now, and there are surpluses that are accumulating in those line items. And she's confident that with city council approval, she'll be able to juggle the money around and get through the rest of the year without looking for money outside of her budget. But she couldn't just do that at this point in time with this type of transfer itself. So we then got into the details of what retroactive meant. We did a lot of this with the auditor about the vetting of the years. We did ask the auditor, what was the primary reason why she didn't pay Crystal Barnes a acting out of grade salary, which you think would be normal to do in this situation. And she said, quite frankly, she was unaware of the ordinance that made Crystal Barnes. And quite frankly, I don't think any of us were aware of the ordinance that made the first senior assistant the acting city solicitor when there's a vacancy for the city solicitor itself. Note, the mayor is responsible for filling that position. The mayor was not with us. The mayor didn't, as we know, the mayor has not filled that position since that date, October 29th, 2018, when Paul Pear left the position itself. So what we're looking at is increases in, part of that year, increases in fiscal 2019, increases in fiscal 2020, and then as I stated, what to do to get through the rest of this year with a slight retroactive in this year itself. We had a lot of discussion about the numbers and the way they added up. Tanya Dolzek, our auditor, said that she did it by looking at the pay rate itself and by calculating it against what the city solicitor's pay rate was, what it was back in 2018, and what the mayor is proposing for it to be. The city solicitor is paid $75,823. That's the high end of the salary scale itself. The amount of money would raise the salaries, excuse me if I want to make sure I get this right, but 2019 to around 58,363, 2020 60,000, and this year I believe her pay scale or base pay will be $68,070, which kind of goes in lines with what the mayor would do, I think, if they did hire the city solicitor. We note that a temporary appointment, even though this ordinance covers the salary itself, making her the city solicitor, temporary appointments by the mayor, really just have a 90-day window. And truthfully, this may be the 90-day window we're in now, because we just received this. It doesn't take away from the point that our Crystal Barnes, our attorney assigned to us, has been doing all the jobs, all the tasks assigned to that of city solicitor, and some of us believe that that should be compensated for. Now, with that in mind, the committee the committee has no recommendation due to a 2-2 vote in committee. 2 city councilors voted in favor, 2 city councilors voted against these 3 transfers, which were the 5,003 transfers. On the $19,000, Mr. President, if you could just verify, I believe it was a 4-0 vote in favor.
That one is it just says approved. It doesn't give the number.
Okay, if I could defer to, maybe before we take our vote, just defer to the administrative assistant or the members of the committee. I'm pretty sure we passed that one for reasons it's this year, and as of now, she is the acting city solicitor being paid at that rate for this year. There's no questions around that.
It's handwritten.
Thank you. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Councilor Leahy.
Yes, thank you. I had a great conversation earlier today with Councilor McGivern, and I have a note here from our conversation. Sometimes, Jim, I get a little bit wordy. I'm not going to say anything. That was his quote. But having said that, I do think that Crystal Barnes is not only a fantastic person, but a great attorney as well. And she's been with us. She's part of our family. She's one of us, it seems like. And I totally think that I wasn't aware of this ordinance. I wasn't aware that she wasn't getting paid out of grade. If you look at the police department, that happens. If somebody moves up, for instance, Sergeant Hart is now moved up to lieutenant. He's going to get paid that salary. This should have happened a long time ago. I'm not sure why the mayor didn't push for this, but I'm going to push for this now. Thank you.
Councilor Anderson Burgos.
Yeah, I'm gonna agree with Jimmy. I can't put into words the amount of effort she puts in. She works extremely hard, harder than any person I've ever seen. Seriously, and I can't stress that enough. Anytime I have a question, no matter how busy she is, she finds the time to get me that answer. And we all know how important it is when we have questions, especially around legal. And she puts that time, she dedicates that time to get us those answers. To me, this is more than well deserved. She should have gotten this a while ago. And I wanna put it out there. Crystal, thank you so much for everything you do for us. And you're really appreciated, at least from my end. You're really, really appreciated. Thank you.
Councilor Lisi.
Thank you. I do want to sort of echo the comments that are being made about how hard Crystal works for not only us as a city council, doing all the research for our orders and making sure that we're avoiding, legal cases and litigation, and just always very dependable when we need to have, pieces of our ordinances and ideas that we want to move forward on, research that from a legal perspective. And the precedent is there. I mean, when Sue Egan, vacated and, passed, and the clerk's seat was vacated, we had the assistant clerk move into that role and was compensated. We had to work really hard because the ordinance wasn't there in place already. But we had to work hard to ensure that somebody doing the full duties of a different higher position was being compensated appropriately. And I think that the same sort of logic fits here in terms of compensating an individual for the work that they're doing appropriately. So I'm going to be in support of this evening.
Counselor Vacan.
Thank you, Mr. President. I will be supporting the item that contains the $19,000 that brings the now acting city solicitor to the $75,823 salary, since the mayor has now appointed her to this position. And I don't argue with any of the points as to the work ethic of the person involved. However, we're running into a legal wall when we try to go back to 2019 and 2020 and increase the salary. It's a matter of state law, is my understanding, that we cannot reach back into the other fiscal years to add to this fiscal year's budget in this manner. But having said that, I will happily support the 19,000 transfer. Thank you.
Counselor Murphy.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Mr. President. So I was very confused at the meeting, as Councilor McGivern will attest. He was very kind to me. And I want to thank Tanya for bearing with me and giving me quite a bit more information. And I came out that it was 19,000 and some odd that we would owe Crystal for the 2.5 years. And that's why I kept thinking the 19 was the only one. But now in looking back, it's my understanding that this 19,000 includes approximately 17,000 of her current salary being transferred to the city solicitor's line item, plus the 2,000 and something difference that would be for the next quarter. And then the other three relate to pay had she been in that position, which she should have been back in October of 2018, she would have been getting. So after spending a lot of time scratching my head and trying to figure out exactly how all of this works out, I will support all 4 of the transfers. I do think, unless there is some legal difficulty in doing it, I mean, I do think she's earned it. I think she should have been recognized and it should have happened in October of 2018 and not now. You know, I just think it's the right thing to do in terms of how we treat our employees who have done the job. And again, I apologize for my confusion during the meeting, and I appreciate what's been done, and I appreciate the explanation. Thank you.
Counselor Sullivan.
Yes, thank you. Also, just to, I don't want to too much echo everybody else, but as far as 16H and the 19,755, I will fully support that. I'll just echo everybody else. I think Attorney Barnes has done a fantastic job. But to Counselor Vacan's point, I don't think we should be breaking state law. If anything, maybe we would want to leave the other ones tabled for tonight to possibly take a look at it or do a little more in-depth dive. What's being referred to here is Chapter 44, Municipal Finance, Section 68, which regards retroactive salary increases. And 68 states clearly, whenever a city or town votes to grant a salary increase to all or any of its employees, such increase may be retroactive to a date not earlier than the beginning of the fiscal year prior to the date of such vote. I'd caution against going ahead and voting on the other ones tonight until we're really clear on what state law is.
Counselor McGivern.
Thank you. If I could just address those 2 points by Counselor Sullivan and Counselor Vacan, and well pointed out and talked about. Number one is it's not a salary increase to an employee. It's a given salary to a position, which the individual should have been getting, no questions by ordinance from the get-go. It's a mistake that was made by the city. We're correcting a mistake. We're not giving a salary. She's getting extra money. I understand that sounds like a salary increase, but she's getting it because she's taking a position that we're not changing the salary of city solicitor. It's just something she should have got from the get-go. If you read or look real quick at the agenda, each of these, there's no word of retroactive pay in this. Each of these transfers have been signed off by the auditor. The mayor made it clear the purpose of these transfers is for retroactive. We're endorsing retroactive pay in spirit, but it's up to the people in the correct positions, the auditor and whoever's in the Treasury Department doing the payroll, to do the correct thing. The sign off says that this is doable at the moment. If they find out that there is something illegal about it, it's incumbent upon them to do the correct thing and notify us that this money cannot be used the way that it's being proposed by the mayor himself. But again, it's slightly different what we're doing here. We're not increasing his salary. We're just recognizing that an individual should have been paid at this rate from the get-go.
Councillor Lisi.
Thank you. I was going to make some similar comments as to those that Councillor McGivern just made. I just want to also, work to emphasize that it's not a salary increase for the assistant city solicitor. It's allowing the person who presently occupies the assistant city solicitor position to get the pay for the work that she's doing as the acting city solicitor. And so I agree that I don't see it as a salary increase. It's just compensating people for the change in duties that they've had to take on. Thank you.
Councillor Vacan.
Thank you, Mr. President. The person in the acting solicitor position can only be placed in that position by the mayor. And the mayor did not make that decision to put the person in that position until this year. That is the mayor's call. It was on him to either make her the acting city solicitor or not. He did not. And I would have to respectfully disagree with my colleagues. I think if we're aware of state law, we cannot pass orders in violation of it. I mean, we've taken the same oath of office all elected officials take. Thank you.
Councillor
Mr. Chairman?
Councillor Graney first, then Councillor Sullivan.
Yeah, I have a tendency to agree. There's no way we should violate any state law at anything, but I can support 16H, but I will not support the others until we get a clarification whether or not it's legal or not. Thank you.
Councillor Sullivan, did you have your hand up still, or Councillor Sullivan?
Nope, as usual, I forgot to take it down.
Oh, no worries. Councillor Lisi, your hand's still up, or is that from before, or?
It's new. I meant to make another point and I forgot to make it previously.
All right, go ahead while it's up and running here. Go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to clarify also that it's when we worked with Kara to create these different positions, it's by ordinance now that the assistant moves into the acting. So we don't actually need, because if you recall, there were problems under the Sullivan administration with, I believe it was an acting attorney at that point in time who was being, I forget if they actually were or were not being appointed for the 90 days and then appointed again. But anyhow, we circumvented all that with the ordinance change. And we wrote the ordinance so that you don't have to have the mayor set somebody into that acting role, that they would just automatically be elevated into that position in the case of a vacancy.
Councilor McGee?
Oh, Councillor Bartley, sorry.
I think I heard Councillor Leahy go first, so.
Okay, Councillor Leahy.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Councilor Bartley. I just had a question. I'm for this and I support her, but do we have any issues when it comes to residency requirement?
Councilor McGee, you're not coming through.
Your volume is gone.
Now?
Nope.
Very faint.
Very low.
No.
Was I okay? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, you were good, Jim.
How about now?
A little bit.
Barely.
Oh, so.
It's really faint.
What happened?
Can hear you barely.
All right, well, I do believe there was a residency requirement for the city solicitor.
Okay,
That's the answer.
Right.
Yeah. Back
Thank
to
you.
Councilor Bartley.
Well, Jimmy, you done, Jimmy?
Yes, I am. Thank you, David.
Okay, sorry, I heard just talk to, Mr. President, I step away for this. Are MN and O before, so we just on 16H?
So I know you had to step away. It was 16H, but we took up as a package to discuss M, N, and O.
Okay, so, all right, so I don't want to, okay, so I'm ready to vote on 16H and pass that. I'm okay with that. I'm misunderstanding what other councilors are saying. I mean, they're putting it in various terms, but when the law says all or any employees, I mean, the state law is pretty clear. Such increase may be retroactive to a date not earlier than the beginning of the fiscal year prior to the date of such vote. So it's July 1, 2020 is where we're in. I mean, we, Mr. President, did not establish the position. It was set by the mayor in the prior budgets. We've gone over all these budgets. Best case scenario is that we should maybe table this, and I don't think we can, for the MN and O, I'm not happy to table it and try to get a third party to give a legal opinion on or at least have other counselors who haven't read the law to at least read the laws, chapter 44, section 68. I mean, you can go around this and slice it up into all different words, Mr. President, acting at a grade, a compensatory fee for a change in duties. You can say all sorts of things you want to say. But when it comes down to it, the employee in question is getting a raise for years prior, fiscal years prior, which if I read the law, that would be contrary to state law. Mr. President, I don't think there's a way around this. And if we're going to take a vote on this, I really think we ought to be very clear on state law, especially when we're getting advice from non-lawyers about what this says. So I'll make a motion. I'm going to make a motion to table 16 M, N, and O to get a legal opinion on these. That's my motion.
Second.
So the motion was to table M, N, and O.
We have hands that are up.
Motion was to table, so that's non-debatable.
I mean, how many times have counselors spoken already? I mean, if somebody has spoken for the
hold
first
on,
time,
Counselor Bartley, we got it.
Thank
So
you.
it was motion to table. It was seconded. So all those in favor of M, N, and O being tabled?
No.
All right.
All those opposed?
No.
No.
Chair is in doubt. Raise your hands if you want to table.
Roll call.
You can do
Well, just
roll
raise
call.
your hands.
Just raise your hand, but
Can we comment on this?
no, right now it's the
Not
vote
debatable.
for tabling. Hold on. 1, 2, 3, 4. Counselor Leahy, I can't see you. That's 5,
Granny is the table.
6, 7. We'll table it. 7 is to table.
Thank you.
All right. So back to H, 16H.
Motion to adopt.
Motion to pass the first reading.
It was all right to pass the first reading. Is there any other discussion? There's hands up. I see Counselor McGivern.
Oh, sorry.
I wanted to talk about the items, about things that have been said this evening. I'm not a lawyer. I think I've just been accused of not being a lawyer, but I'm proud not to be a lawyer.
You're on mute, Joe.
Hey, I don't blame you.
Muted.
I'm a lawyer. I'm glad you ought to be proud not to be one.
You're very lucky I was on mute. My hand was up, Mr. President, about talking about some things that were said earlier. I respect the motion to table, and I'll lower my hand on that. But I do have a point of clarification on the items that were tabled.
Yes, what's
Part
clarification?
of clarification is there's a different way to interpret what's been said this evening. Who's asking who to give us an opinion?
I do believe Counselor Bartley was looking for an opinion from outside.
We need to have a consensus and a vote as to what the legal opinion is by the body that we're seeking and who's going to give it.
Well, that's a good question. I mean, the legal department represents us and the city.
Only the city solicitor can give us a legal opinion that counts.
Correct. So it would be coming from the city solicitor as to the opinion of chapter or Mass General Law 44, section 63 or 65, I believe it was.
Yeah.
Which then is, are we in violation of that rule? And if it comes back that we're not, we can proceed with MN and O and approve them. So
the answer to my question would be.
Go ahead, Councilor McGivern.
Well, I'm looking for an answer as to how we're going to get a legal opinion.
Well, it'd have to come from our city solicitor because we don't have an outside law department.
Mr.
We do
President?
have outside counsel.
It's not going to be a legal opinion unless it's signed by the city solicitor.
That's been an ongoing debate, Councilor McGivern, because we don't have a city solicitor.
Right.
But hold on. Let's go to.
If I could finish my thought, we are paying for outside counsel.
Attorney General.
For specialty is in payroll in human resources. So I would suggest if it's not the attorney barking at me that that we use it, but we're going to have to really weigh what a legal opinion is when it comes back to us. Because I gave my opinion of the way I read the law. I know I'm not a lawyer. Councilor Bartley gave his opinion the way he reads the law. He is a lawyer. Councilor Bacon gave her opinion, and other people have chimed in. Retroactive is not in the language that.
Jeff, can we mute everyone? Thank you.
And as I stated, if we pass the transfers, we're not saying it's retroactive. It has to pass the law itself, has to pass the auditor, has to pass the city treasurer, has to pass people that it's the correct way of paying something back that should have been paid in the first place. We are not increasing a salary. An individual is getting more money, but it's the money the salary should have given. And that's Crystal Barnes cannot be the city solicitor because of the residency issue. If you ask Crystal Barnes, I don't think she's seeking to be the city solicitor. But she's doing the work.
Councilor Murphy.
Thank you, Mr. President. So just a couple of other points here I'd like to make. And I have no problem putting some of these into tabling and try to find out, because I don't want to vote for something that might be illegal. But 16N, I think that should be taken up for this reason. 16N is the retroactive from July 1, 2020. That's part of this fiscal year. That $5,733 is what she would have gotten paid up until now had she been in the city solicitor's acting city solicitor's position, plus the $19,755 that transfer. Those two would put her for fiscal 21 at the city solicitor salary of $75,823. So I think those two at least can be done under the basis that it has to be in that fiscal year. The other two are clearly outside of that fiscal year, and I understand trying to get a legal opinion to make sure what we can do. But I do hope that we will take up 16H and 16N tonight, process those, and then review the others for the previous fiscal years. At least that would pay her for this fiscal year as this city solicitor. Thank you.
Okay.
Mr. President.
Councilor Bacon.
Thank you. Quickly, it was confirmed at committee and reconfirmed tonight that item 16H will make the acting city solicitor whole at $75,823 annually, which is the salary for the position. Thank you.
Right, so hold on, let's do this. Why? Because everyone has spoken. Why don't we take up 16H because the other ones were tabled. And then we can go back on a motion if we want to reconsider 16N as was suggested. Would you like to do that or?
I thought we already had the motion to pass H, no?
It was all part of the package and then when we're going on first reading, that's what we're discussing.
Okay.
The President, could you read 16H?
16H is as a reminder, because we've gone around a few times with a package of them. Committee on Finance, who was hereby referred $19,755 from Assistant Solicitor to City Solicitor. Recommend that be adopted.
So my understanding is it's a transfer of money from one line item into another line item, period.
Correct.
That's what we're adopting.
Correct.
Thank you.
So motion is to pass the first reading. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Motion to pass the second reading.
Motion is passed the second reading. The clerk will call the roll. If you vote yes, you're voting for 16H, which was the $19,755.
Anderson Burgos,
Yes.
Bartley,
Yes.
Graney,
Yes.
Hernandez,
Yes.
Leahy,
Yes.
LeBron Martinez,
Can you hear me? Yes.
Lisi,
Yes.
McGee,
Yes.
McGivern,
Yes.
Murphy,
Yes.
Sullivan,
Yes.
Tallman,
Yes.
Bacon.
Yes.
Unanimous vote.
With your vote, 16H was approved. Is there a motion to go back to 16N and reconsider?
I'll make a motion to do that.
Motion is to reconsider action on 16N. All those in
We actually
favor?
need to reconsider, or can we just take it up off the table since it's on the
Well,
table?
yeah, we can we can take it up off the table.
Yeah.
Take it off the table. All
Second.
those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
No.
Well,
I hear 3 no's. The ayes would have it. So 16N is order that the special counsel of $5,733 to city solicitor. Recommend.
Recommend.
Is it M or N? I'm sorry. I thought it was
This is
M that was this year's.
N as in Nancy.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Counselor Bacon first.
Mr. President, can you ask the finance chair, please, these all state in the fiscal year 2021. So can the finance chair please advise the council as to what time period these are referring to?
Counselor McGivern.
2021. It is not in front of us. I've said this 3 times. The retroactive pay is
Hold on.
because of the mayor's letter. What the auditor and the treasurer do is going to be according to law. We have to put the money in the line item in this year. That's all we can do. And then accordingly, because of the mistake that was made, because of the ordinance, not because of the mayor's appointment, because the ordinance says the senior assistant city solicitor is the city solicitor when there's a vacancy. Should the mayor appoint the city solicitor 2 years ago? Absolutely.
Mr. President, point of order. He is not answering my question.
2021. I'm answering the question.
I'm going to get there for everyone. I'm going through the orders. So M as in Mike, was for fiscal year 20. O is for fiscal year 2019. N as in Nancy is for fiscal year 21.
Mr. President?
Yep. Counselor Murphy.
Yeah, just because I asked and I was so confused, I did get a chart and I'm just gonna, so the $5,733 from the city auditor transferred is going from 7/1/2020 to 3/27/2021, which has come out to 5,733 retro. And then what we just passed included the rest of Crystal's salary as an assistant city solicitor and the $2,020 difference from being that and the salary she gets as the city solicitor. So those two, the first one we passed and this one would both be for this fiscal year. And then I agree with the other counselors in terms of we need to get a clarification so that we don't end up going beyond state law. But I think we're based on the reading, it looks like very clear that we can do this since it is from July 1 of our current fiscal year.
Thank you, Counselor Murphy.
You're welcome.
Correct. Counselor McGivern.
President, Counselor Bacon, and Counselor Murphy, all the members. I'm not trying to be cute here. What I'm trying to point out is what's before us are, yes, they are broken down accordingly to the prior years and when they are retroactive accordingly and for the future accordingly. But what is actually before us are transfers in this year's budget into a line item where everything would come out of according to the way it is due. And I understand, I have no problem if we're going to get a legal opinion. I don't know how we're going to do it. But I don't want people to think that we're voting on each of these as retroactive pay. The money will become retroactive pay is the intent. But if we vote yes, it's a transfer. If we vote no, the money doesn't go there. But the money that's in there can be used the way it seems fit if it's legal. And that's what I've been trying to point out is, we're caught up like we have a say over the mistake that was made. We don't. The mayor's trying to correct it. He's asking us to do this transfer so that the city can correct it, but it's not up to us to do it legally. It's up to us to put the money where it can be done legally.
So here, just for everyone else, we passed H, which was the 19,000. This is also part of fiscal year 2021, which would be in what we are referring to as the Mass General Law, and the other two were kind of in limbo. I agree with the counselors in the sense that this is money that is earned and well-deserved, and there was a mistake. But we need a clarification on two of them. I don't see a problem with this one, just like the 19H.
I'll make a motion that we pass the first reading of 16N, which is for the fiscal year 2021.
Okay, so motion is to pass the first reading. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
Aye.
Motion is to pass the
Motion to
second
pass the
reading.
second reading.
The clerk will call the roll. If you
Second.
vote yes, you're voting for 16N for 2021.
Anderson Burgos,
Yes.
Bartley,
Yes.
Graney,
Yes.
Hernandez,
Yes.
Leahy,
Yes.
LeBron Martinez,
Yes.
Lisi,
Yes.
McGee,
Yes.
McGivern,
Yes.
Murphy,
Yes.
Sullivan,
Yes.
Tallman,
Yes.
Bacon.
Yes. And motion to
Unanimous vote.
table M and O.
Those were already tabled. Those were
You're
tabled.
still on, oh, I thought we took them all back up.
No, just N.
Oh, okay, thank you.
So 16I is the next one, which is finance, 10,000 from refuge HMEO to other services, temporary seasonal. Recommended that be adopted.
Make a motion to receive, pass the first reading.
Motion is receive, adopt, pass the first reading. Counselor McGivern.
Thank you. The surplus line item it's coming from is due to a partial to a vacancy, but also partial to, and I can't think of the term, but when a person is out injured on duty or out, it's not sick leave, but it's Mike McGranis explained it to us in a prior meeting. So the money is available, the 10,000 is available in the line item. It's going to those seasonal people, the temp people, I'm sorry, not seasonal, the temp people. He talked to us that he's been allowed by the union to hire to help offset some of the vacancies that we have with the employees who are on workman's comp and who are, or positions that are vacant. The committee recommends that the transfer be adopted.
Counselor Murphy.
This is the temporary workers to help with the trash collection where they help.
Recycling and trash.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we've also been told that we are now getting in a position where potentially we could start to work with Roca and doing the same thing so that we might have them as an asset should we end up in this.
Roca reconsidered, it's correct.
So we made great progress.
Seeing no one further, motion is passed the first reading. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those
Aye.
opposed?
Motion to pass the second reading.
Motion is to pass the second reading. The clerk will call the roll. If you vote yes, you're voting for the transfer.
Anderson Burgos,
Yes.
Bartley,
Yes.
Greeny. Greeny. Hernandez,
Yes.
Leahy,
Yes.
LeBron Martinez,
Yes.
Lisi. McGee,
Yes.
McGivern,
Yes.
Murphy,
Yes.
Sullivan,
Yes.
Tallman,
Yes.
Bacon.
Yes.
11 yeas.
Graney was a yes. I was muted.
Okay, thank you.
With your vote, you
12
approve the
yeas.
transfer. 16J, Command and Finance, who's referred a request for $35,000 from Parking Control Officer to Waste and Waste Recycling Coordinator to Refuge R&M Vehicles and Park R&M Vehicles. I recommend that be adopted. So receive, adopt, pass the first reading. Councilor McGivern.
Thank you, Mr. President. The money is coming from two items. On the parking control officers, they were budgeted for two parking control officers. One was vacant for just about the entire year. Some of it was vacant because of COVID and the way the pandemic played out. On the waste recycling coordinator, the surplus money is identified as the employee being out, and that same terminology, INV, in which they are out, which was in the last union contract. It allows them to be paid differently. The surplus money is being transferred into two line items that I think we recognize, we talked about a little bit earlier this evening, repair and maintenance for vehicles and repair and maintenance for parks vehicles. Mr. McManus went through in detail what, these type of vehicles. The parks vehicle is, I don't want to get mixed up here, but it's I think it's one of the trucks that they use. But the amount of work that's been done by our mechanics has been incredible, just trying to keep the fleet going, which is the other part of the problem besides the manpower. Committee recommends that this transfer be adopted.
Seeing no one further, motion is to pass the first reading. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those
Aye.
opposed?
Motion to pass the second reading.
Motion is passed the second reading. The
Second.
clerk will call the roll. If you vote yes, you're voting for the transfer.
Anderson Burgos,
Yes.
Bartley,
Yes.
Greeny,
Yes.
Hernandez,
Yes.
Leahy,
Yes.
LeBron Martinez,
Yes.
Lisi,
Yes.
McGee,
Yes.
McGivern,
Yes.
Murphy,
Yes.
Sullivan,
Yes.
Tallman,
Yes.
Bacon.
Yes.
Unanimous vote.
With your vote, you approve the transfer. 16K from Finance, $37,750 from Contract Forest Services, Snow Removal Services to Snow Removal Services. Recommend that be adopted. Motion to receive, adopt, pass the first reading. Councilor McGivern.
Thank you, Mr. President. The forestry services is the line item used when we contract out to take care of that long list of trees that need attention. Mike McManus said that with the vehicle purchase that we're doing and with his intentions is he is reassigning a employee to work with the forester, and he wants to do the bulk of this in-house. He thinks that, especially with the new vehicle, but he thinks with the two people that he'll have a better job of handling the in-house work for the rest of the fiscal year. And that's how he intends to do it if it works for future fiscal years. That's the $35,000, the 2007-20 on the agenda. I believe it's a typo on the order itself. It's not coming from snow removal services to snow removal services. It's coming from the correct
Waste Recycle.
Thank
Waste
you.
Recycle Corner. Yep.
Thank you. Which is the position we talked about earlier where the individual is out on INV.
Councilor Bartley.
Yeah, I'm just trying to, through the chair to the chair, I'm just trying to understand why there's an exact order like this at number 36.
I'm sorry, what's 36?
Why it's this order? It looks like the exact same order. So why is 36 on the agenda?
They might have filed it by accident.
Yeah.
Well, I just want to verify that before I vote on this.
I believe that is the replacement order because the auditor wasn't sure if the typo was the agenda or on the original transfer.
Okay, so we'll just give 36 leave to withdraw then.
I'll second that.
As long as they're in agreement that it's coming from the waste recycle coordinator, not from snow removal to snow removal. Mr. President, what in front of you, does it say snow removal?
So hold on, just let me check. So the number is correct. It's just the name was done wrong, but the number, the line item 14301-51106 would represent waste recycle coordinator. It's just they put down the wrong word, but
The right object code, and
Right.
the auditor said she would give us a replacement order if anybody wanted to.
So why don't we,
Why don't we go to replacement order?
yeah, why don't we just go to suspend the rules, go out of order to
36.
36.
So moved.
All those in
Second.
favor?
Aye.
All opposed? So 36 is the same exact order, but written correctly, of which we can say the motion for 36 would be to receive, adopt, and pass the first reading.
So move.
Make a motion
All
to
those in
receive, adopt,
favor?
and pass the first reading. Aye.
All those opposed?
Pass the second reading on 36.
Motion's passed the second reading. Clerk will call the roll. If you vote
Second.
yes, you're voting for item 36, which is the corrected version.
Anderson, Burgos,
Yes.
Bartley,
Yes.
Greeny,
Yes.
Hernandez,
Yes.
Leahy,
Yes.
LeBron Martinez,
Yes.
Lisi,
Yes.
McGee,
Yes.
McGivern,
Yes.
Murphy,
Yes.
Sullivan,
Yes.
Bowman,
Yes.
Aiken.
Yes.
Unanimous vote.
With your vote, you're approved 36. 16K, which is what we're on.
Leave to withdraw.
Leave to withdraw
Motion.
second.
Second.
So with
Do we have-
financial transfers, Joe,
Dana.
isn't the new procedure to send back to the auditor for,
We've been making a motion to refer back to the auditor to dispose
Right.
of.
so motion is to send back to the auditor for disposal? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? That way we can do the accounting correctly. 16L, Committee on Finance, who's referred in order that in accordance with Master General Law 59, Section 38H, the City Council hereby approve and ratify the agreement between Hoyle Best LLC in lieu of taxes pilot at 50 Water Street. Recommended that be adopted. Councilor McGivern.
If I could, Mr. President, this came under Councilor Sullivan's name, and I thank Councilor Sullivan because he's been on top of all the pilot agreements, and certainly his understanding is as much as any of us as to the importance and the significance of a pilot agreement. This particular agreement is the second of what is a LLC for a BES, which is battery, blah, 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 blah. And I'm going to stop right there because Councilor Sullivan is going to take over, report something, and give us a motion.
Councilor Sullivan.
Yep. So a BESS, a BESS, is a battery energy storage system. And this particular one here has adopted that name for its LLC. So we'll probably see more of these BESS agreements, although not particularly tied to this one. This one is owned by Citizens Energy, which I think we all know of as, I'm pretty sure this is Joe Kennedy and stuff. But that aside, I'd like to, it's a great program put forward. This is the kind of stuff that HG&E is supporting, helping getting us, into a more green energy and sustainable future. And we'll see more of these in the future. Tonight, I'd like to go ahead and just table this. We voted out of committee unanimously, but I just want to verify one of the numbers. That's all. We only have one other agreement for battery storage. All the rest of them have to do with solar units and stuff like this. This is only the second one we've had for storage. And I would just like to put this off to the next meeting so I could just confirm the exact number.
In
that to make sure it's the same as the previous one we did.
So the motion is to table. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? So that one's tabled. We did M, N, O. P was done. Off to Public Safety Committee, 17A. The Committee on Public Safety was referred in order that the Department of Public Works and Suez Water Technologies and Solution provide a timely plan to the Holyoke City Council regarding street sweeping of the city streets for spring 2021. The report should be specific as to when sweeping will take place by neighborhood to ensure compliance with the contractual obligations. Last year, a similar order was fired, and it took many follow-up emails and calls to get the response. I've been advised that there is an obligation to sweep every street at least once. Verification of this minimum standard and plan to exceed it for our residents is appreciated and emailed to me as Chair, Public Service Chair. Having considered the same, recommend that's been complied with. Councilor Murphy.
Yeah, this is an order filed by Councilor Leahy, and two things. We did meet with Mike McManus. We did meet with Mike Williams, and we met with Mike Burke. This is the Mike situation. But they did indicate that they had a spring schedule, and it was scheduled basically going on through the summer. And there's a map that I've asked them to when they finalize it, that they would share with all the city councilors so that you can share with your constituents as need be. And it does include a schedule for every section of the city. And there are some that, due to volume of trash and things along that lines, end up getting done a couple more times rather than just once. But every street is supposed to get swept up at least once. And when they see other problems, they can come back and do it a second time if need be. So they were very cooperative and indicated that they could update the map. And again, I've asked them to send that once they have it finalized, then it's all the councilors so that you will all have knowledge of when they're coming. And it had dates on it scheduled, but it wasn't finalized at that point. So,
Councilor Leahy.
Yeah, well, thank you. So I've been filing this order for the last several years or so, and we've had many issues with them leading up to the contract. And as Councilor Murphy said, they're not supposed to. They are required to do it. And we've had many issues. I've had constituents in many different neighborhoods that are extremely concerned about this. And some of them are very up on the knowledge of the contract. And so not only are they supposed to be doing it, they are going to do it. And last year we had issues where it was getting close to the middle of the summer and hadn't been done yet in certain neighborhoods. And also they're utilizing some of the Holyoke's own trucks, from my understanding, talking at one of our meetings. And that's not supposed to be happening as well. They're supposed to be doing their thing. City of Holyoke, DPW does another thing. So if I could, through the chair, ask Councilor Murphy, when is this map, when is this spreadsheet going to be in our hands so we can pass this along to our constituents?
We met, I believe, last Wednesday, and I asked if we could have it by tonight. Obviously, it hasn't come in, so I will touch base with Mike Williams at Suez again to have it. Again, they were updating it, and the dates that I saw, the tentative dates for all of the various neighborhoods, the last one I saw was in June. So they were trying to do this April, May, June. Now, that was a tentative thing at that point. So, but they were pretty confident that's what they would. And they also, if I'm not mistaken, and Councilor McGivern and Councilor McGee can correct me, I believe they mentioned that Suez was also getting a new vehicle so that they would be more able to get through all of the streets.
Councilor Leahy? Yeah.
Yeah, just, so some of the people who asked me about this order, they go through other communities as well, and it's done much earlier in other communities. And so I just want to make sure that Holyoke is getting exactly what we deserve, not only what we deserve, but what the contract states. I voted for the contract many years ago, and I want to make sure that we are getting exactly what we get. And so if you could follow up with them tomorrow, I would greatly appreciate it. Thank you.
Councilor Bartley.
Thank you. I just want to, just through the chair to Councilor Leahy, I just got two small points, if I could, Jim. One is I complimented Mike Williams this week because the streets around where the ward I represent, I think they've been looking pretty good lately, and I'm a pretty big critic of it. So I just want to point that out. And the second one, through the chair to Jim, is that I had a conversation this week with Mike McManus about Councilor Leahy's order that he filed multiple years ago, and I don't remember when, but it was probably at least 7 years ago, and it was to use the Everbridge system, not for just snow removal, but Councilor Leahy also, I almost said Lacey, wow. Councilor Leahy, I apologize for that. Councilor Leahy suggested that we use it for other public notifications, such as construction and those sorts of things. And when I spoke with Mike, and Mike said, maybe that wasn't top of his radar, but he said he would put it back on his radar because it makes a lot of sense to use that for what it's intended, public notification. And so it was helpful, I think, from the constituents I heard from Mr. President, that relative to the trash and recycling delays, I know constituents were very appreciative, those that signed up for it. And yeah, maybe some constituents complain, maybe they're getting too many calls, but you're better off knowing than not knowing about delays such as important public services and when the public roads are going to be impacted in your neighborhood. And by the way, Ms. McManus said that they can target that to just particular sections of the community. So it may just be Elmwood Heights where Joe lives, or it may be, I don't know, some part of South Holyoke or whatever. So it does not so people in West Holyoke aren't going to get contacted by things not impacting their neighborhood. So I thought that was helpful. And so I'm going to, at some point, Mr. President, I'll finish here. I'll send out another email blast because I know speaking with Mike McManus, I sent out an email a few weeks back on this, and they had quite a few extra signups. So the Public Works is pleasantly surprised, and I think the public is too, to know that we have such an effective service to notify them. Thank you.
Councilor McGivern.
Thank you, Mr. President. Two things. One to Councilor Murphy, the new street sweeper is in. The day of our meeting, I was driving down South Street, and I actually saw this thing coming up South Street. It is new, it is huge, and it was on its way to the neighborhood it was assigned to that day. But I was quite impressed with it, and I think some of the other equipment was getting kind of old. And if that's what the Suez is working with, I think we're going to see a vast improvement in streets cleaning itself. Councilor Leahy, I don't know where this anonymous alias name comes from, but it's certainly something that I think you got to work on, because it's just something.
I agree with you, Councilor McGinty. I really do.
You're welcome, Councilor Leahy. How can you talk over a muted mic? There's a little bit of history to the sewer treatment plant, to the sewer department taking over the street cleaning in 1991. Councilor Murphy, which was we were putting together that acting mayor was putting together the fiscal 1992 budget. It was devastated, and we noted, and I asked at that time the manager of the sewer department, the sewer treatment plant itself, does the stuff in the streets, whether it be debris, just dirt, sand, salt, from the winter, and those catch basins where we used to have, I call it the claw, have to clean out each of those stormwater catch basins, on an annual basis. If it's not taken care of, does it end up down the sewer treatment plant, adding more to a sludge, component of what happens? And sludge is a lot more expensive to get rid of, because it's what we take out of the treatment plant after the water is treated. And of course, it has to be disposed of in the landfill. And they said yes. And I said, would it make sense then, instead of the DPW cleaning the streets, that the department budget would take over? And they agreed to do it at that time. Thus, as Councilor Leahy points out, the First Aquarian, now Suez, is part of their contract to do it. And I think what we heard at a committee meeting, Councilor Murphy, is that they've got a better handle on the schedule this year, and the new equipment, I think, is going to make a vast difference in the results of the cleaning.
Councilor Tallman.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. President. And thanks, Jim, for bringing that up again every year. I mean, I think today I was out driving around in a couple areas of the city, and they're already out there street sweeping. And And I do believe that Mike Williams or Mike Burke stated that if they did get short on vehicles, they could borrow from another town. They had some backups that they could do to get some of our streets taken care of in a timely manner. So I wasn't at the meeting, but I did catch a little bit of it on TV, and I think it's good that we sort of keep them to the contract, and that they must clean the streets, and it's actually better for them cost-wise to get the sand and the dirt off the streets. So thank you.
Yeah, just one last point, Mr. President.
Councilor Murphy.
And we did ask if we could use the city's announcement computer system along with what you suggested, Councilor Bartley. And because, and we were told they would do it, but it wouldn't be as effective because if there's a rain day, they end up putting a schedule together that's usually about a 2-week package. But I thought at least, all right, somewhere down in that week, you're going to come and clean your streets. So at least you have that. So, but I know they were a little hesitant in doing that because they didn't want to put something up and then not be getting there that week. So that was their concern on it. But I did ask, and they may still consider doing that.
Councilor Leahy.
Yeah, just very quickly, and thank you, Councilor Bartley. Thank you, David, for bringing that up. I did file that order regarding the Everbright system many moons ago, and I knew it could be utilized for different neighborhoods, and I just don't think that the department heads were utilizing it at all. Kind of like a lot of people aren't utilizing Munis, and so that's just, it's a system that we are paying for. We're paying with taxpayer dollars, and so I also think that whether they're going to utilize it for the street sweeping or not, as well as they should, but they should also let me, the counselor who keeps bringing this up year after year, know. I mean, I'm responsible for that Hello Holyoke Forum, which is like 20,000 people in the city of Holyoke. I mean, I can get information out to people overnight very quickly. And so the fact that they're reaching out to me, knowing I'm going to file this order, knowing that I did file this order, shame on them. Thank you.
Seeing no one further, motion is that this has been complied with. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Public Service Committee, Councilor Leahy, there was something?
Yes. Can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Okay, thank you. If we could take out a committee, if I could have some indulgence from the members, taking out a committee. We were supposed to, at the last meeting, have a person get interviewed. However, there was a scheduling conflict and she did not. But so if we can have a second, somebody
motion to remove from committee. What's the order, Councilor Leahy?
It is the HEDIC. It's a HEDIC appointment with Rosa, Maria. Want to make sure I pronounce her last name right.
Pantoja.
I knew Councilor Grady would come with the 1-2 punch there. So if we could have that taken out of committee, that'd be great.
So motion is to remove from the committee for the appointment. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion, okay. Councilor Leahy, is to
just very quickly. I think everybody in this room, the Zoom room, knows, and I'm sure that Councilor Grady can go on speak about her music ability for 10 minutes, and Gladys is not Gladys so much, but we could also have Libby. Libby's close with her as well. This is a person that's been around the community forever. She's a business owner. She's no stranger to any of us, I don't think. And I think that she'd be a great fit on the board. Because not only does she have a great tax business, but she spawned that off to other businesses as well. This is a person that's in Holyoke, stayed in Holyoke. She does a lot of the financials for a lot of people in Holyoke. I think she's a great fit for this. And I'll turn this over to Councilor Granny or Councilor Hernandez.
Councilor Hernandez.
Thank you, Councilor Leahy. Yes, I mean, it would be an asset to have her appointed for this volunteer position. She is very well versed on many different, areas and business oriented. A longtime Holyoker, her family ties, and are rooted here. And she's just, a magnificent person. So I think that it would be great that she can be appointed. Thank you.
Anyone further? Counselor Lisi.
Yeah, Counselor,
Hold on,
Give
Counselor
your,
Graney. Counselor Lisi, then Counselor Graney.
Thank you. I'll just say a few words. Not only is Rosa a business owner, but she has several businesses here in the city. She's a really hard worker, and I think the city is lucky to have her on a board because she does a lot of work both for her businesses and the boards that she's presently on in the community for different nonprofits. And again, we're lucky to have her working hard for the city now.
Counselor Graney.
great young woman, Holyoke High School graduate. She'll serve the city well on the HEDA committee, so I enthusiastically support her appointment.
Counselor Anderson Burgos.
I grew up with Rosa in Springdale Park. I've known her many, 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 many years. I know that she is one of the most dedicated people I know. Love her to pieces. She's great. Anyone that knows her will say the same thing. I have not met a person that could say anything bad about her at all. She's a beautiful person inside and out. So I won't say any more because I know we have a long agenda and we want to get to the end eventually. Thanks.
So, Counselor Tallman, is your hand up? Or is that from prior?
Yeah, I'm all set.
Oh,
I'm all
okay.
set.
All right. So with that, Counselor Leahy, motion is to confirm the appointment.
Yes, to confirm the appointment. And, well, first, we made the motion, second, to take it out of the committee.
Yeah.
Right?
And that was already done. That
Okay.
was already done.
No, somebody
Okay,
else.
so now I make a motion to confirm the appointment.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay. Now we're on to, there's no DGNR. Next would be Charter and Rules, 20A. The Committee on Charter and Rules
20A
was
remains,
referred to 6 of the city chart. Counselor Bacon?
if I may, 20A remains in committee. These were all on the agenda because of the timing issue.
So 20A is still in committee.
Yes,
Okay.
So is that a package, 28 to what?
20A.
Okay, so 20A is still in committee. 20B, the Committee on Charter and Rules, who was referred in order,
Is
communication from,
tabled in committee.
that one's tabled as well in committee. Hold on.
And C
That's
is
why I'd asked.
B. So if we could take up items D, G, H. I'm sorry, Counselor Leahy, I didn't hear what you had said originally. As a pack, suspend the necessary rules and take those up as a package.
Okay, so motion to suspend the rules, take up D, G, and H. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? D is the Committee on Charter Rules who refer an order resolution for a home rule petition, waiting disposition. G, the Committee on Charter and Rules will refer an order of the City of Holyoke through the Honorable City Council, Honorable Mayor, hereby petition the General Court to enact legislation to amend the requirements of a special election upon the mayoral vacancy in the year 2021. And H is the Committee on Charter and Rules will refer an order at the City of Holyoke through the Honorable City Council, Honorable Mayor, hereby petition the General Court to enact legislation, the requirements of the special election upon the mayoral vacancy in 2021 as listed or entitled. Counselor Bacon.
Thank you. So I would just note that also each city councilor had received separately a copy of the language of the original filed resolution, which is not separately listed here. And that is the order that simply requests the Mass General Court to allow us to skip a special election and wait until the general election. That was the initial order filed. In committee, there were other discussions, debate, and amendments, and you have received an updated draft from our acting city solicitor. That draft contains some amendments that were debated, discussed, and finally moved out of committee to this body. Upon review and consideration and review of information that was provided at the committee, some accurate, some not, while I voted to forward this draft to the city council, I am removing my vote of approval on these amendments that you have before you. The reason that I am is because as a factual matter in our charter, we have a clear and simple resolution to the matter of our mayor serving as the acting mayor, our president of the council serving as the acting mayor. And I believe all of the discussion and debate that took place in committee has muddied the waters in terms of us being able to effectively petition the Mass General Court to avoid a special election. We did have consensus, if you will, I believe unanimity among us to avoid a special election. However, these other discussions that have come in that are affecting the term of office, the city charter, and the requirements of the charter relative to the role of president, I feel are making it so that it will endanger our ability to have the special election waived. Therefore, I will be supporting the initial resolution that simply petitions the Mass General Court to allow us to not hold a special election. I believe we should be able to deal with the other charter issues locally without petitioning the state for what would effectively be a further charter change and go way beyond what they've approved for the other two cities. So that's me. But having said that, as it stands, the committee is recommending to the body for consideration an amended draft that includes the city council choosing from its own membership an acting mayor, while it contemplates leaving the president in office. This would require that the Mass General Court consider not only changing the date, but also changing specific language in our charter that requires that the president of the council shall serve as acting mayor. And I do understand, and I was very taken aback by that announcement at committee last night, since I had seen on the news 5 minutes before the meeting, the reporting that our council president would be the acting mayor. So if I was a little bit off my game chairing that meeting last night, it was because I was quite shocked. But in any event, we all run into situations that require us to make different decisions from what we had perhaps intended to do at a point in time. And I really think that before us tonight, we have a very simple solution, which is a no harm, no foul solution. And that is that if our current president can't, due to very valid reasons, fulfill what is required in the charter, then if that person resigns the position, the city council can promptly and efficiently fill the president position with a person who will, as required in the charter, carry out the duties as the acting mayor for the remainder of the term, which would be accomplished separately from anything that we would put forward to the Mass General Court. So I encourage my colleagues to keep it simple and move on the first resolution that was filed with the city council. It's in concert with Lowell and Boston, and it will allow us to avoid the cost, the confusion, and all the other language that is in the context of it. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman?
Counselor Granny.
Yes, I was at that meeting as a member of the committee. I too was blindsided by the announcement. I was pretty well confused throughout the whole thing. And I too support the petitioning the state for for avoiding a special election, but I am rescinding my support of all the other amendments and let what may happen before the full council tonight, let it happen. But I am rescinding my support of all those amendments as well. I do support, however, going forward, petitioning the state to avoid having a special election and having the new mayor selected in the November election. Thank you.
Good night, Paige. I love you. Good night.
Counselor Tallman.
I'm all set right now. Thank you.
Oh, okay, Counselor Lisi.
Thank you. I just want to make it clear for everyone that I don't think that rescinding the votes that were taken is possible. So what needs to happen moving forward is new amendments to the version that we have in front of us.
Let's get a legal opinion on it. What you think is one thing, what's legal is another.
So is there a motion to ask legal?
Motion to suspend the necessary rules and allow legal to speak on whether votes taken at a prior meeting are allowed to be rescinded.
I'll second that.
I'll second it.
So all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Crystal, are you there?
I am. The committee at this point would be advisory. It's more important what the full council votes. So the votes tonight are what matters. I wouldn't stress so much about the votes coming out of committee.
Counselor Murphy.
Yeah, first of all, I want to thank you, Mr. President, for doing what I think was the honorable thing. Clearly, you weighed a number of factors, and in my opinion, you tried to come out and do what you thought was best for the city. And I want to thank you and show respect for that decision. And I know it could not have been an easy decision because I know your heart is trying to serve the city of Holyoke. So I want to thank you for that. And I know my original thought after last night was that we should try to do what we were trying to make an amendment, but then we got a report from Crystal Barnes today, which basically indicated that the chances of getting that done in any kind of reasonable time frame were probably not very good. I talked to former Representative Aaron Vega today, and he also indicated that the ability to move through the legislature with the home petition at this time would also probably not go that swiftly. So I think we do have to make some tough decisions. And I'm not really sure what the right answer is, but again, I appreciated your integrity. I appreciated your sharing the information with us and you're weighing the needs of the city. And I think you should be commended for that. Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor McGivern.
Thank you, Mr. President. And I'm a little bit in shock here, so I'm just trying to collect my thoughts. Last night we had 10 city councilors present for a very important discussion. And I thought it was well thought out, well vetted out. People agreed, disagreed, thought it out again, and came to some type of consensus on something that does and is time sensitive. And I think we have and I said this last night, a very unique opportunity to map out the way to handle a situation for government here in Holyoke for the next 10 months that is not our fault. We have a mayor who is reneging on serving the remainder of his term. A few weeks ago, we were with the understanding we would have somewhere between the end of April to the end of May to decide how and what would be the best way to honor the charter, to honor the replacement of the vacancy through an acting mayor, and knowing with our president being fully upfront that he had to talk to his employer, knowing that we had options because of what's happened in Boston, which does have language not just about the special election, but about how their city council president is going to remain, not just the acting mayor, but remain as the city council president, which is what took place in this city in 1991. We have Lawrence doing the exact opposite for their reasons of their city council, who's going to become the acting mayor, will be stepping down. And I thought last night, 10 city councilors, the committee, did something very quickly with very little time, because the letter we got from the mayor was March 26th. That, only came in last Thursday. And this meant a frantic pace for our president, a frantic pace for our city solicitor to do something to prepare the city council to take a vote this evening. The unique opportunity I have, believe that we have in front of us, is to petition the general court for permission to do something that is, one, for the special election, to change that to the regular election. I mean, it's not a give me, because the charter language is clear. Not only if there's 6 months left in the term do we have to have a special election, we have to have it within 6 months. So that's the purpose of the first part of the petition, the home rule petition to the court. $80,000 to $100,000 will be saved by waiting till November. That makes sense. Again, the mayor is reneged on his commitment to the voters of this city to fill out this term. We need to find the best way to put an acting mayor in that position who can do it. Now, by changing the special election, that adds months to the term of the acting mayor. And that puts another special hardship on the person taking the acting mayor's position. Councilor McGee was quite clear last night that after speaking with his employer, who my understanding he's been consulting with them since last week, that there are issues down the road that could put him in conflict, and it makes no sense for him to take it. He was upfront with us last night, and quite frankly, I thank you, Todd, for being transparent, and I thank you for being, the honorable president that you have been to us. Now, I for one don't know how everybody else feels, but because we have to fill this position for someone who's not going to fill out their term, I don't think myself or any of the people who voted for any one of us, should be penalized for that. If a city councilor is going to take over as acting mayor, they should still be the voice of the people that made them a city councilor. And if the city councilor is willing to take on what's going to be a very difficult job over the next 6 months, with the budget that's going to be tough, with what's going on in the police department, with what's going on within the city itself and the schools, that person is going to be working incredibly hard, to keep up with it and still be a voice on the city council, meaning we're going to have a direct line to decisions that are made in the city. This is what happened in 1991. If people are transparent, we have a president who's been nothing but transparent, we can do this. But we have the unique opportunity not to put the hardship on the city council, but to put the request to the state of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts and to Boston to allow us to do something the way that we think will work here in the city of Holyoke. And that's what the language was literally drafted in front of us last night when our city solicitor shared the screen with us. She took what was the initial draft, crossed something out, added something, crossed something out, uncrossed something out, and I think her head was spinning by the end of the evening. And it's still something that, as Councilor Lisi pointed out, can be amended this evening. But to hear what I just heard is beyond me. Nobody was blindsided. Everybody's been upfront about this, especially our president. He's the person I voted for. He's my voice on this city council, and I don't think I should have to have a hardship to not have him as my president. But I'm more worried about the people who voted Todd, you, me, and everyone into office, of putting a hardship on them by removing a city councilor prematurely from this, because it's our job to fill the vacancy and make an acting mayor, do the job of the city government for the rest of the year. This is a unique opportunity. We can draft language this evening that works for everybody if we just keep cool heads and stop the conspiracy theories.
Councilor Leahy.
Yes, thank you. So I just want to let everybody know that I was on the meeting, and my daughter Paige has been suffering from severe migraines, debilitating migraines. And as I was on the city council meeting, I basically had to take her, rush her to the Bay State ER. So I stayed on the meeting as long as possible, as long as we were waiting in the waiting room. And I heard most of it. But I just wanted to be clear. I just want to make sure that I heard this clear, because this is what we're voting on. So if I could, through the chair, just ask Councilor Bacon, it's basically you're saying to remove Councilor McGee as president and have another councilor be both elected president and the mayor. Is that essentially what I heard?
Through the president to Councilor Leahy. Yes, because the charter requires that the president of the city council shall serve as the acting mayor upon vacancy of the position. So the positions are tied together. It doesn't cause any, it's just a shifting at our table of who is serving in the role of president. It doesn't create a vacancy, and it doesn't take anybody away from their role, other than the role that, due to circumstances outside of a person's control, they can't fulfill under the charter. I mean, the fact that the mayor is leaving was under no one's control. In the history under the charter, the acting mayor position has been filled, in the rare occurrences that have happened, by the city council president, as the charter requires. And so the easiest, quickest way that the city council has, which is very similar to choosing a city council member to serve as acting mayor, is to keep the role as it is defined in the charter and not have to petition the Mass General Court. And if it's the will of the body, certainly, that we retain the president that we have, upon the completion of that duty, it could be the will of the body to vote yet again. But at this point in time, we have a person who cannot fulfill the requirements of the position. So it's not a fault situation, it's just the most straightforward way to correct it, rather than trying to petition the state to further change our charter, which will further complicate the achievement of not holding a special election. Thank you.
Thank you. And I hear what you're saying, and I understand your point of view, but my point of view is this is why the state gives us, the city of Holyoke, the option of petitioning them through our state representative, through our state senator, through our people. This is why, and this is what happens, and it's happened. I think asking for Todd to resign as president is as Councilor McGivern said, I voted for Todd. I'd probably vote for him again, as long as he didn't talk as much. But if he didn't, I would vote for him. I'm just thinking to myself that Todd is doing the honorable thing, realizing that he has a company that he has to represent. He has a family that he has to represent, and he can't give it 100%. Big props to Todd for realizing that. Big props to the city of Holyoke for him knowing that. We need a person that's going to go in there and be able to give 100%. Now, you can't serve two gods. You can't give 100% to your company, and you can't serve. So this is why when people are running for election and they have a full-time job, it's a very hard thing to do, because you can't serve two entities. So Todd, you have my support. I'll do whatever is the best thing for the city of Holyoke, and I know that you will too. Thank you.
Councilor Tallman.
Thank you, Mr. President. And Todd, I support you 100% also. We had the meeting last night. It was an incredible meeting. And, you know, some things happened last night. We worked through them. And I want to commend Councilor Bacon for that. We had 10 councilors there, which we talked about what's our move now? Where do we go with this situation that we're in? The mayor left a little bit earlier than we thought he was going to leave. That was his decision. He didn't fill out his term. And the position that we're in now is we got March 26th, which is which is a week from Friday, that he is leaving. And I think the amendments we made last night were clear to petition the state. I talked to our city solicitor today, and the letter we got that it's going to take a little bit of time to get that back from them with the changes they have to make. Could go back and forth. It could take a few weeks. But I believe last night, I asked Todd last night at the meeting that if need be, he could stay on for a very short period of time until we get this decision resolved. I still think that the council should appoint somebody from within their body to be able to serve as acting mayor. And I know we did put that in the resolution. And also that the two current candidates for mayor, I made a suggestion that that was taken out. I think Crystal has that in there, that they wouldn't be eligible. And that would really cloud things up. So I stated that we know that they could still vote for him, but I think as a counselor, it would give them an edge up because they're both running for mayor in the fall. So my position is that with the work we did last night for the hour and a half meeting, that we should keep those amendments in place, send that to Boston, and move on with what we're going to do in the future of the city, and try to get this resolved in a timely manner, which could take a couple extra weeks. But as I said, I believe the president stated, and hopefully he could state that tonight, that if it takes an extra week or two, that he may be able to fulfill that position of acting mayor until we get this resolved through the state. So thank you. And thank you, Todd, for standing up and really trying to hold this together in a point, making a decision that must have been difficult for you and your family, but you did the right thing by bringing this forward so we could move forward with this issue. Thank you.
Councilor Anderson Burgos.
Yeah, I want to, Todd, you'll always have my support. But I'm thinking here, we have till March 26th, right? So time is of essence. And I would like to seek out some advice or help from the state so we can figure this out. So I'm assuming that in the charter, I could have sworn in the charter, it states that the city clerk, in the absence of the mayor, could step in. And I think, don't quote me on this, but I think it's 60 days. And I think that if it's 60 days, that would leave us April through May. And that would give us enough time to figure this out. Because I think this is going to be a very tricky one. And I think that might be a route. I mean, unless somebody has a different option, that might be a route we can take.
Okay. Councilor Lisi.
Thank you. So I do want to say that I don't envy the position that you're in, Todd, because I do think that it's a hard decision to make. And you have to weigh all the variables, and it's not for a short period of time. It's for at least 7 months, when under any other situation, it would be at most 6 months. That being said, the resolve that we came to last night in committee was that we were going to appoint somebody from within the body. And at the end of the day, that's how we elect our city council president. And so I don't really see so much of a difference between appointing a new president or appointing someone to be acting mayor. It's still the same set of votes. It's just that you wouldn't retain the present president and get a new acting mayor at the same time. But the mechanism for appointing the acting would be the same. It would be a vote of the city council. So hear me out. I think that as Todd is our president, we should, it's the 23rd. So this Friday is when we need an acting mayor. So I would say, Todd has said that he'd be able to fill in for a short period of time. So let's have our city council president serve as acting mayor for a short period of time until we have this special legislation passed to absolve us of the the special election, because I think everybody in the room is on board that we don't need a special election at this point in time in terms of the, the chaos, the expense, and the health issues that it is connected to. Once we sort of get a green light and know what's happening from there, from the state legislature, whether we can in fact forego our special election, then we may need to take another vote and pass the baton to a new acting president who would fill in from there on. Again, I just don't see the difference. When we were talking about this last night in committee, about having the body appoint somebody from within, we would still be appointing somebody from within, and we know who and who would be interested and who would not be interested in it. And so to me, the most parsimonious, the like neatest path forward works with the charter as it's written presently. And I think that we can respect the role of our present president, respect the constraints that our present president has in terms of staying a very long duration in the role, and then really sort of honor the consensus that was built in last night's meeting and saying at some point we would be appointing someone else from within the body to become the acting mayor. So that's how I see things at this point in time, and I hope that I've made my points clear for folks. Thank you.
Mr. President,
Councilor Graney.
do we as a body have the power to amend the city charter?
You can pass a request and then send it off to amend a city charter. You file an order, go through committee, and then you'd send it off to the state to change the charter if that's what you're looking to do. But it's not us doing it by ourselves, I guess is the best
So
way to answer that.
we can't act as a body to do that?
Well,
we have to petition the state to do that?
Yeah, in essence, you're asking the state to change the charter, but you're acting as a group to make that change. And hopefully I'm saying it correctly, that it makes sense. Did I lose you, Councilor Graney?
No, I'm here. I'm just thinking.
Okay.
I'm trying to.
Councilor Murphy has his hand up. Go to him, or or you still have a question?
No, I'm finished. I'm just
okay. Councilor Murphy.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. President. So the only questions I have in terms of, and if it's possible, I'd like to ask Attorney Barnes to. I know she sent an email today talking about the delay, and I wonder if they talked about how long the delay might be. That'd be number one. And to the president, if you were in a position to be able to, without jeopardizing yourself, to serve as acting mayor, do you have an idea how long you might be able to do that?
Yeah, to answer that, I spoke with Representative Pat Duffy today, and then you got the email from everyone. And she alerted me that it would take a little more time, most likely a few weeks into April, which I said that's not really an issue for me. So she said if things were given to her tomorrow, she can see things being filed and being not so much acted on, but the process really getting started by Friday, and she could give us more concrete information on timing. Would there be give and take back and forth on stuff? She said, sure, that happens all the time. But she said, because of Lawrence and Boston, having already set that groundwork, it would be probably something she would figure a couple weeks in April. She didn't want to give a specific date because you just never know what's going to happen.
Yeah, with that information, and I would just say that, we send the resolution as is, maybe with some technical amendments, with the idea that we know our president could be the acting mayor for a regional, and if it gets to the point where our president knows that he cannot continue, I'm sure he'll let us know, and then we would have to, if that was the only option at that point, then we would have to try to, I guess, appoint a new president to become the acting mayor. But I think sending this in if we got a chance to get this resolved and know that we don't have to have a special election, and know that we can have a different procedure to select the acting mayor by mid-April, and not jeopardize anything citywide, nor jeopardize Councilor McGee, I think that's where we should go.
Councilor McGivern.
I think whatever we decide to do, we need to decide it this evening. Whichever direction we take, after April, the acting mayor is going to be acting and getting ready a budget that's going to be presented to the city council by the end of May, and that's probably the first and foremost duty the acting mayor is going to have to take on, and that's I think most city councilors are better prepared to do that with your knowledge of the budget and your knowledge of the proceedings, but you're still going to have to work with a variety of department heads, their requests and their needs, and of course balance that with the projection of revenues coming in for the next fiscal year. If we delay how we're going to fill the position, the permanent, that's a bad way to put it, but how we're going to fill the acting mayor, we're going to delay that process to where it could be harmful to the process, where we don't have time, to delay the budget process itself by state law. The charter itself is a covenant that allows us to have local government. The charter is and our charter is old, so it kind of predates any planned government that we recognize out there, or that the Commonwealth recognizes out there. We're probably one of the 5 oldest charters, including Lawrence and Boston, that still predates the type of government that exists in Massachusetts, local government. So we get that unique opportunity because the legislature and governor has already recognized Boston and Lawrence and allowed them to draft some different things in the way they want to see their city governed after Marty Walsh leaves Boston, and the mayor and for the mayor in Lawrence too. It's the same thing. So it's within our purview to do this, and just note, if we don't do something that can be acted upon in a timely fashion, next Friday the mayor is done, and it's real simple and real clear. The president is the acting mayor immediately, and there's no changing that. Now, if Todd steps down as president because he wants to do the honorable thing, and we replace Todd as president, one of us is now, and most of us, have said we can't be for different reasons, the acting mayor. One of us has to take that position, and then they're going to be the president for the rest of the year, and they're going to be the acting mayor for the rest of the year. There's no getting around that. I know everybody thinks different, but 1991 is the example. The last time it happened in the city of Hoyle, and the president was the acting mayor and did both jobs for 5.5 months. So we have a unique opportunity with the language before us. If the state disagrees with what we're petitioning, they can amend our petition and send it back to us as amended. And we can agree or disagree with what their amendments are. They might disagree that, it can be anybody but the president. They might take that out of the petition. They might agree with us, but put some caveats on it. We don't know until we put something in front of them what's going to happen. All we know is the clock is ticking, not just on filling the vacancy, but on the importance of the budget coming up in May and a lot of things that are before the city right now. We have the ability to choose from amongst the 13 of us if we so see fit to do that. And as Councilor Lisi said, we can either do that by replacing the president, but now we're going to have a different president for the rest of the year. That different president is now got the ability to change committee assignments, to change chairmanships, to change a lot of things. I mean, to me, the cleaner way of doing this is getting the state to look at the petition that came out of committee unanimously last night and put that petition in front of the state and let them tell us yes or no. And we can do that in a timely fashion with the help of our president, into the month of April. But if we don't act tonight, we're going to jeopardize a lot of things down the road.
Councilor Lisi.
I'm speaking for a second time, so if Councilor Bartley wanted to go before me, I'm happy to wait.
Councilor Bartley, I did see your hand up first. You're on mute, Councilor Bartley.
I'll wait.
Okay, fine. So I'll just say, I think that you know, any council president can resign at any point in time. And I really think that this is the cleanest and quickest way forward to just respect the charter, keep the scope of the special legislation narrow and compact. And there's nobody on the council, to be perfectly honest, that I trust more to handle the city budget than Todd. I mean, Todd was finance chair for almost all the years that I've been on the city council until he became our city council president. And I think that he really, you know, demonstrated an understanding of the finances of the city. And I mean, his professional training is in finances. So I think that he is really the best person to step in right now. He's the appropriate person, given the charter, to step in right now. And we will move forward on petitioning the general legislature to allow us to forego the special election. And when we hear back from the state, then we can take the next step. So Todd could resign, and even if it has to be beforehand, he could resign, and then we would have a new president elected. And again, the consensus that came out of committee last night is really not so different. The only difference is we preserve the city council president while also electing an acting mayor, which that is a step beyond the charter. And I don't see how moving forward in the way that I just described deviate so much from where we ended last night. And again, I think that we have the person who we want to step in. They are constrained, and we need to respect that. And so we can work with this individual until their constraints come up. Thank you.
Councilor Bartley.
Yeah, I think, Mr. President, I mean, we're all talking around you. I think it's a pretty pivotal for us to for you to give your intent. I'm not saying for right this second. I think it's pivotal that you gave your impression last night that that you're not going to take the mayor's job because of I think you said because of work, but there may have been other reasons. So at some point, you may or may not want to indicate whether you want to resign as city council president. I, for one, and I know I know lawyers are horrible people, and you know probably you're right, but there is a provision in state law that I think is on point with what's happening here. It's Chapter 39, Section 5, and I think that if we take a chance of reading that state law provision, again, those darn lawyers, I think it contemplates pretty much what's happening here. In other words, we have a mayor that, well, I heard one counselor say reneged. I was shocked at that. I was shocked at that by that kind of language. I'm just joking, of course, but not really. And then we have a president, Mr. President, who is unable to perform the duties. So when state law, I think, contemplates that, says when that happens, then, and they use the term alderman because that's the language. So the alderman may, from time by such the board of aldermen may, from time to time, elect somebody to serve as the acting mayor from amongst. Now it doesn't. I don't think it says by amongst the body. But I think that makes sense. So I've been vacillating on this for most of the night. I'm of the opinion now that we should probably send what we're going to send to the state, pretty much what we had last night. I would like to hear from the president and a definitive statement sooner rather than later if the president is inclined to resign. And if knows the answer, then fine. That knows the answer. I, for one, do not think that the president, after reading this, has to resign. But that's just me. So we should probably hear from legal. I wish kind of legal had brought this up to us last night. But as to whether this section applies. I think it does, but so that being said, I would say we should move the question as it is, get this behind us, and take a vote. Thank you.
Counselor McGivern. You're on mute.
I think Councilor Bartley is right on track with the with Mass General Law 39, Section 5. When I read it this afternoon, it talks about a president not being able to perform the duties of an acting mayor, and it gives almost similar to what we came up with language last night. But if you note in 39, Section 5, it talks about a common council. That's a bicameral government, which was a government that Holyoke first had when our charter was first written. So I don't know for sure, because I'm kidding around, David, but I'm not an attorney. And I don't know for sure if Section 39.5 applies to us, but it certainly looks like the state recognizes that in a charter, when a president, can't take on the duties, they do recognize that there may be some need to be flexible. So I kind of think in spirit, Section 39, if it doesn't legally apply to us, is saying the way the state thinks is that what we're trying to do is appropriate. And if they agree with us for what we came up with last night, everything works.
Anyone further?
Is there a way of asking legal on that question?
You can suspend the rules to allow legal to ask questions.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
All
Aye.
opposed?
Aye.
Crystal, are you there?
I am.
How are
So
you?
good. So that law speaks to, first, that except as otherwise provided by city charters. And so right now our charter is telling us that we need a special election. So no matter what we do, we have to go to the state first. And then it gives guidance as to should your president not be able to perform. And it speaks as to a board of aldermen, a common council. It doesn't necessarily speak to a city council per se. So I think it's good guidance and certainly supports what we're asking the state to do. But first and foremost, we still have to petition the state because our charter asks for a special election, regardless of whether or not the president would sit. So again, I would reiterate my advice as to what we would like to happen this year. It needs to just simply be requested very specifically in our petition to the state, and let's go from there.
But
Councilor Murphy.
Yeah, I agree that we need to request from the state that we want to not have a special election. But if that provision can be in effect in Holyoke because Councilor McGee is unable to take on the acting role, would we need to petition with the other parts that we were talking about?
I would ask for it because that rule, I mean, I could clarify with the state, but we're asking them to essentially do what that rule is stating anyways. I don't know if that applies to us because it doesn't speak as to city councils. And in MGL, when it speaks to towns and select boards versus city councils or cities, there is a reason for that. So I don't know if the purpose for it stating a board of aldermen or a common council is on purpose, or if it's just an outdated law and the verbiage hasn't changed. So that's something we could ask the state, but since we're already asking for the same thing, I don't think it really matters one way or the other here.
Okay.
Mr. President?
Hold on, Councilor Tallman, then Councilor Graney.
Thank you, Mr. President. I think tonight we just have to move this forward, this resolution, and I think we should go with the resolution that we worked on last night that for about an hour where we had a couple amendments made. I mean, clearly we don't want to have a special election and the cost that goes along with that and the health reasons. But I think the part about, us appointing somebody within and keeping our council president on board, I think would be an appropriate way to do it. And I think the state, as our law department stated, that it seems like that would be an appropriate thing to do. If they don't agree with it, then we have to go to another avenue to try to take care of this issue. But as I stated, I think if our council president could hold on for a week or two into April, we hear from the state, and then we can make a decision from there what we have to do. Thank you.
Councilor Graney.
The right thing to do, and this is my opinion, I'm not a lawyer, legal, or anything like that, is to petition the state for not having the special election in one docket and then send a second docket with the second petition about the rest of it. It should be separated, because if they turn down the whole thing gets turned down. If they turn down one of them, we still don't, and we still get the waiver for the special election, that will save the city $80,000. That's something that we won't have to deal with, because we won't have the special election. And if they turn down the second petition, which would be the other part of it, then we can deal with it in-house. Thank you.
Counselor
I
Sullivan.
don't know what the lawyer, what Crystal would say about that.
Hold on, Counselor Sullivan.
Well, the first thing I'd like to say is a lot of people have spoken more than twice, so I wish we'd adhere to that rule. The second thing is I'm comfortable with it now, because what I've heard tonight is we send the whole thing as we agreed, and if the state doesn't like it, they're not going to reject it. They can amend it and send it back to us. So if there's things in here that the state feels are inappropriate, they'll make that amendment and send it back to us. So, and then as far as the bit about the council president and the length of the term in the charter, when it asks for the president to fill in, that's during a shortened term that we're already asking to go outside of. So it also makes sense to request something that goes outside of what was envisioned in the charter in the first place, that he fill in for a period of less than 6 months. And we're asking to go outside of that anyways. So I myself am comfortable sending it as we went forward, as we came out of committee, knowing the fact that the state can amend it. And also the fact that regardless of the time frame, I've also spoke with both Senator Vilas and Rep. Duffy, and they stand ready to push this forward at a rapid pace, and they've got assurances that it will move quickly through. But it's us that's got to get on with it.
Counselor Bacon, you're looking to speak for the third time. So
I-
motion be to allow her to speak.
The second time, but okay.
I got three, but all those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Counselor Bacon.
So I want to make 2 points of fact. One is that Holyoke is organized under a Plan B charter in Chapter 43 Mass General Law. That is how our city is organized. And we had been told repeatedly throughout the very chaotic meeting last night that our charter rules. And so I maintain the position that we should honor the charter. I'm not saying that we can't seek these other things, but I certainly will defer to the majority. Thank you.
Counselor McGivern looking to speak for a third time. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Counselor McGivern.
Thank you, everyone. I think it might be fourth.
Yes.
Last time, to me, it's the petition in front of us. We ironed it out last night. It makes the most sense. If you're against the petition because of the charter, isn't changing the charter that says we have to have a special election, changing the charter? If you're going against the charter on the special election, what's the difference if we try to iron out what we think is for amendments to make sure we have the right person becoming the acting mayor? You can't, do it one time and say, yeah, we want a petition to change the special election. The charter says we have to have a special election. Charter says our president is the acting mayor. Mass General Laws shows us, and what Lawrence and Boston did, we can petition under a home rule option and let the state decide if we can make some changes for 2021 out of need and necessity. So let's not hang it on a charter. We're petitioning a special election to change the charter. Let's look at what we ironed out last night and petition the legislature for all of it.
Anyone further? Hands are up, but those from prior, I think.
I just didn't finish the second point I wanted to make.
Oh, all right, go ahead, Counselor Bacon.
Thank you. So the only other point I wanted to make, because this was a point that I believe I participated in the confusion on last night, was that in the charter, when it says the president shall become the acting mayor upon vacancy by the mayor. It does not contemplate when or how long. It just simply states that upon the vacancy, the president of the city council shall be the acting mayor. So I know Council President McGee has said that he cannot serve as the acting mayor, but he will be the acting mayor as of March 26th because of the charter. So we can't just say we don't like what it says, so we're going to change it, because it is the controlling document as we sit here right now. Thank you.
Counselor Sullivan.
Yeah, could we read just the, we can skip all the whereases, but so we have an idea of what the final changes are? Because I've seen so many renditions now. I want to make absolutely sure, and we read it into the record exactly what it is.
Crystal, can you read that, Crystal?
Can she actually screen share it? I mean, I think that would be the most reliable way to get it out there.
Yeah.
And then read
Crystal,
it.
can you do that?
I can.
Okay,
I'll wait for Jeff to transfer.
Got it.
You're set.
Thanks. So this is still redlined, so it's going to look a little messy. So it's a petition for special law regarding an act relative to the office of mayor in the city of Holyoke. I'm going to be brief. I won't read this verbatim. Notwithstanding any general special law to the contrary, if vacancy in the office of mayor occurs at any time in the year 2021, vacancy shall be filled by special municipal election, or shall not be filled by special municipal election, nor by the city council president as required by city charter section, and I need to fill in that section, I believe it's 26 or 28, but shall instead be filled by appointment of the city council of a fellow city council member. A majority vote of the body shall be required for confirmation. The acting mayor, as appointed by the city council, shall be entitled to simultaneously continue his or her city council duties as councilor until such time a new mayor is elected. Mayoral candidate elected in the regularly scheduled 2021 municipal election shall be immediately seated, administered oath of office, and assume all powers of mayor immediately upon proper certification by the Board of Registrars, and serve for the balance of the then expired term of mayor. And then section 2 is that this act shall take effect upon its passage. That was as voted out of committee last night. So this part here about the people running is actually deleted. I have a comment over here.
Counselor Sullivan, do you have a question for that, Counselor Sullivan?
No, you're on mute.
I can't see with the screen up. Is my hand still raised?
No, I didn't know it because you asked the question to see it. I didn't know if you.
I just asked it to be read, so we saw exactly.
Okay.
The last copy I had did have that section about the running for mayor part still in there. So.
No, that should be out. We motioned that out.
I know we did, but the last copy I saw still had it in it. So.
Okay.
And I never got a redlined copy.
All right. Anyone further for this? Okay, so I'll just say quickly, I understand the frustration. Trust me, as you've known me for a long time, I'd never blindside anybody. That's never been my intent. I don't take offense to that. I mean, words are just words. The issue is I was doing my due diligence, and as things started to develop, we got a faster time frame as to when someone was going to leave. And that's just the way it is. So I had to look at everything, and there is a risk of a potential conflict of interest. So instead of going and not telling anyone on this body or anyone in the community and try and do it for 2-3 months, and then that conflict exists, and then come back to you and say during a budget cycle, sorry, I have to go. That's not fair. And that's why I said I really got to get some details on this. And also it would have to have been part-time work. based on everything we talked tonight, HR's down, legal's down, the tax collector, the treasurer, the budget, the police department, the trash pickup. We've got a lot of issues. To walk in, get a full-time salary for part-time work is not who I am. And that's why I came to you up front to tell you as a group, what should we do? Not, hey, I'm going to do this, agree with it. I came to you as a group of colleagues and friends and said, what should we do? So to me, if it came off wrong when I was trying to do it as a group, I apologize. That, you know me, that's not who I am. But my whole goal is to step in and do what's right for this city. That's my oath. And that's what I'm doing. I'm coming to you upfront, transparent, telling you of a conflict, as well as not being comfortable doing part-time work for a full-time salary. That's not who I am. We need a full-time person in there to deal with every issue that we've already discussed, and who else knows what's going on. That's proper. So I once again apologize. It's not to blindside, not to mislead, but to be right up front to you like I have always been on any communication or anything I receive or any meeting I go to make sure this body is always up to date on whatever information I get. So I appreciate it.
Point
Mr.
of
Chairman,
privilege.
Mr. President.
Hold on, Counselor Bacon.
Thank you. Under point of personal privilege, I object to the characterization because I feel that as the chair of the committee that you came into last night, as a minimum of a professional courtesy, that you would have taken 2 minutes to give me a phone call, an email, a text, or a heads up. This is not the first time this type of thing has happened with me, and I find it personally offensive and unprofessional. I do appreciate your service to the city, and I did vote for you as president of the council, but I also expect to be treated with respect. Thank you.
So, no, what Counselor, I was saying, and my thing froze up. I meant no disrespect at all. Counselor Graney.
Last night, I'm just a member of that committee. I was under the impression, after having spoken with you maybe a week prior to that, that you indicated that, you know, it was just a conversation in passing that you were next in line to be the mayor of the city of Holyoke if the mayor resigned. So when I use the term blindsided, maybe blindsided was a difficult word that you take exception with.
No,
that's the way I felt. That's the way I felt at that time. And I expressed myself that way, and I will always express myself that way. I've always supported you, always will support you. I think you're a great family man, a great addition to Holyoke, but that's the way I felt. And I'm a person that tells the truth, and I tell it right up front. I had no clue or no knowledge of any fact that when we opened that meeting last night, that all of this was going to happen. That's all I'm saying. Thank you.
Understandable. I understand, Counselor.
I want to make a motion that we approve the resolution and send it to the general court.
Second.
So motion
Second the
is
motion.
approved, is seconded. We'll need a roll call.
That's under discussion.
Counselor Bartley.
I don't want to make the motion, but should we add a whereas in there that you don't want to take you're unwilling to take the job from as acting mayor? Will that make a difference? I mean, you've got all sorts of other things in there with COVID and all this other miscellaneous stuff, but this is really very generic. But I mean, the fact is that you're unwilling to take it or unable. So whatever you just, I think that whereas should be included. I'm going to make a motion that we add the whereas that the city council president is either unwilling or unable to serve as acting mayor.
Second.
So the motion was to add unable to act.
Unable or unwilling. I don't want to, I don't want to make you feel bad. I just want to clarify for the Boston what's happening on the ground instead of the generic stuff we got in there about COVID and all the rest of it. So,
Counselor Leahy, then Counselor Lisi.
Yeah, thank you. So I'll second Councilor Bartley's motion, but I think I have the floor, excuse me. But specifically to the fact that he's unable, not unwilling, because I don't think that's the case. So
Jimmy, good enough.
If that's your motion of
friendly amendment, I accept it.
Counselor Lisi.
I'm just going to say I don't think it's necessary. I mean, and we probably should ask you here, but from what I've heard in last night's discussion, that you can step in as acting mayor, but for a short duration of time, not an extended 7 months, which again is longer than the trigger point for the special election. So I'm not sure. I don't feel that language is necessary because our city council president is able to step in as acting mayor. And if we need to take another step after that, then we can cross that bridge when we get there. But for at least a short duration of time, we do have a city council president who can step in as an acting. And I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, if I misunderstood that. But no. that's how I've heard the conversations over the past 2 days.
So that is correct. The motion is to add unable to. How'd you say it again, Councilor Leahy? Unable to.
Unable to.
Whereas unable to perform the duty.
Unable to perform the duties except for a very, very brief period of time. So hopefully that'll massage it. I just want to make it clear to Boston that Todd can't do it other than for a cup of coffee. I mean, so this is why we need this extraordinary measure. Why is that hard to understand?
All right. So on the motion,
what's backing up, if I could, backing up on what Councilor Bartley is saying is the fact that giving Boston as much information as possible is not a bad thing. It's a good thing. So having them understand that you can't is, I think, is a better way for hopefully they approve it.
Councilor Sullivan. Still on mute, Councilor.
He's muted.
All right, so I think the reasonable wording would be unable to perform for an extended period of time. Not a very brief or short or couple of minutes, but unable to perform for an extended period of time.
Beautiful.
I'll second that.
Jeez. Amen.
Councilor Tallman.
Yeah, I think the state realizes what we're doing here and why we're sending it down. And I think by putting in there that we're going to be appointing somebody from the council that you will not be able to serve as acting mayor. So I don't think this needs to be in that resolution. That's just my personal opinion.
All right. So on the motion as read by Councilor Sullivan, all those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed?
No.
The ayes would have it. So with that, with the motion added in, would we like a roll call for the resolution?
We have to have a roll call.
Yeah.
So with as amended.
Yeah, it's needed.
As amended. So the clerk will call the roll. If you vote yes, you're voting for it as amended.
Anderson Burgos.
Yes.
Bartley.
Yes.
Graney.
Yes.
Hernandez.
Yes.
Leahy.
Yes.
LeBron Martinez.
Yes.
Lisi.
Yes.
McGee.
Yes.
McGivern.
Yes.
Murphy.
Yes.
Sullivan.
Yes.
Tallman.
Yes.
Bacon.
Yes.
Unanimous vote.
For your vote, you approve the resolution. Off to, there is no joint committee or school committee. There's motions, orders, and resolutions. 22.
Another item in charter and rules.
Oh, there was. Did I miss one? What did I miss, Counselor?
20, let's see. It's the one on the rule for the committee.
20E?
20E?
20H?
E.
20.
Okay, E.
E.
Yeah.
Committee on Charter and Rules have referred that the city council rule be added to the city council committee assigned to prior term remaining in effect for re-elected councilors until president-elect assigns new committees. Have considered the same awaiting disposition.
So there'd been a little back and forth on this, and we received feedback from our legal department, and the committee recommended to adopt 3-0.
The motion is to receive, adopt for the rule
Second.
change. Councilor McGivern.
Thank you. I just want to clarify my vote. I'll be voting no. I didn't say anything last night. I respect the wishes of the committee and what will probably be majority of the council. But the charter is pretty good. Rules are pretty clear. The charter is pretty clear that there can be no business. I'm sorry, it's actually a charter. There can be no business conducted in the beginning of a term until the city council elects the president. So I just fear that the committees that were appointed by prior presidents, which could take place, would be acting prematurely on the new structure of the city council itself. It's just my opinion, but thank you.
So with that, the clerk will call, because this is a rule change for us, do a roll call. The clerk call roll to make the rule change.
Anderson Burgos?
No.
Did you say no? I'm sorry.
I said no, yep.
No, okay. Bartley?
Yes.
Graney?
Yes.
Hernandez?
No.
Leahy?
No.
LeBron Martinez?
I'm sorry, I lost what are we voting on? I'm very sorry.
This is for our rule change for changing to allow committees that were assigned in prior years to stay and work until the president-elect has assigned new committees.
So we gotta vote on that for.
It would be a rule change. Yeah, it's a rule change for us.
No, okay.
So yes or no?
No.
Lisi?
No.
McGee?
No.
McGivern?
No.
Murphy?
Yes.
Sullivan?
Yes.
Tallman?
No.
Bacon?
Yes.
Eight yeas, 5 yeas, 8 nays.
With the vote, it didn't carry. F, was that also stayed in committee?
Yes, that's tabled for legal
That's tabled.
to accomplish the merger of the board.
So have we missed anything in charter and rules?
I think we're done.
Okay, just making sure. All right, so then back to motions, orders, and resolutions. 22 from Counselor Bartley.
Yeah, Mr. President, can we just take 22? And I have one late file. I just want to get rid of that because they're both going to ordinance and DPW. So I can suspend and take those these together as a package, please.
What's your late file, Counselor?
Oh,
wait, let me. No, I got it. Actually, I got two here. I got DPW for Fairfield Street or Fairview Street.
Yeah, and then for the
bar large vehicles on the following.
Yeah, that's they're going to ordinance and DPW.
So those two. Hold on, let me get
this one. Yep.
All right, so 22, suspend the rules, take 22, late file A and B as a package.
Oh, A and B.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? A is from Counselor Bartley to install a stop sign at the end of Ridgeway Street where there meets to ordinance and DPW. A is DPW install a street sign at Fairview Street. So that'd be going to DPW. And B is an order from Counselor Bartley at the City of Holyoke bar large vehicles from the following public, and it's A through N. It's a list of streets.
That's the streets. Yeah, ordinance and DPW and the city engineer.
And that's the ordinance, city, DPW and city engineer. All those in favor?
Thank you.
All those opposed? 23 is from Counselor Hernandez that a handicap sign be removed from 50 Walnut Street. So ordinance. All those in favor? All those opposed?
Mr. President, could I ask a question?
Sure, go ahead.
Is in 20F, did we do that?
20F is still in committee.
DPW, we already did that? DPW commissioners and the sewer commissioners? I thought we had approved that.
No, it was tabled for a legal opinion.
Legal form.
Legal form.
Legal
Legal form.
language to accomplish it.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. All right, 24 is from Councilor Hernandez. Order that proposal resolution filed in the past by Nelson Roman be taken up by the Public Service Committee as it relates to replacing Columbus Day with Indigenous Day. The city of Hoya consists of more than 50% of its population being Latino. So to public service?
Yes, please.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? 25 from Councilor Lisi, that the city council develop a public process by which councilors can submit recommendations on how the 29 million in COVID stimulation fund will be spent locally.
I'd like to receive.
Question through the chair, Mr. President.
Hold on, Councilor Lisi has the floor.
I'd like to receive and send it to public service. I think what I'd like to do there is have different departments come in with their understanding of how they could spend that money in their department, and then also allow a little bit more of a public discussion of, you know, which things seem like priorities, and then we would, I think, forward those recommendations off over to the finance the finance committee, or just right over to adopt. But I do think that we should take our time and have a very open process and get different department heads to come in and you know, showcase different ways that we could be spending that money in their departments.
Councilor Graney.
Just a question on that issue, that when we do get this information, I'd like to know if any of that money could be spent to give the homeowners and the taxpayers relief. Thank you.
Councilor Leahy.
Yeah, thank you. If I could, through the chair to Councilor Lisi, if I could be added to that order as well. Yes?
Yeah, absolutely. Yep.
Oh, okay, perfect. So yeah, also because I would also like to have the COVID response team to come in as well, because I'm not sure if all the counselors on here know exactly who the members are, what their salaries are, what the position is, what they've done, what their minutes. These are a lot of questions that I've been asked about, and quite frankly, we should all know the answers to these, and I don't. Thank you.
Councilor McGivern.
I support the order. I think it's a great order to get the discussion going. What's going to be interesting, and not for this evening, but when we change to an acting mayor, will the acting mayor be able to spend the COVID money without coming to the city council? Because right now the city council has no vote on the money, and I think transparency is important. But at the very least, a discussion will certainly be well worth it. The city should be spending the money.
Councilor Lisi, you had your hand up, or?
I do. I just from the brief reading of the sort of advisory that went out about how this money could be spent, it's not really supposed to go on COVID. It's not COVID response. It's like the impact that COVID has had on different sectors of our community, economy, taxes, and so I don't know if the COVID response team would be beneficial.
Okay.
Exactly, but
I'll file another
we'll
order.
figure it out then. We'll figure it out then.
Okay, so to public service. Councilor Tomlin, sorry, I didn't see it. Councilor Tomlin.
Great order. I wonder if I could be added on to that order. And I spoke to our DPW superintendent, and he mentioned something about working now with in the coming months about how they could utilize some of that funding. And I believe it goes up till 2024. I think that's the time frame. A couple of people mentioned it tonight too at public meeting. Thank you.
All right, so adding Councilor Leahy and Councilor Tallman and sending to public service. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? 26 is from Councilor Lisi, Councilor Anderson Burgos, Councilor Hernandez, and Councilor LeBron Martinez. Order that in an effort to obtain neutral fact-based data and statistics of city contract, an independent assessment of the Hoyoke Police Department structure, policies, and practices.
Be received and sent to public safety.
Motion is to receive and send to public safety. All
Brief
those in-
discuss. Sorry, go ahead.
Counselor Lisi.
Thank you. Just really briefly, I just want to say that under like normal circumstances, I think we would be sending this to the executive, who would then create like a scope and an RFP. But absent a real opportunity to do that, I think sending it to public safety and having a brief discussion about how to structure the RFP and scope would be valuable. And then we would send it on to whoever is going to be our acting mayor to collect the bids with the procurement office. I also want to state, just for the record, that I know that our police department has been in the news recently, but this order is really just an opportunity to say it's time to do a holistic, systemic look at our departments. This is the first one that I think we should be looking at, and just understand like what is the return on investment, the amount of money that we invest in the department. Is it providing the best policies, the best practices, and affording us the most efficient structure for the taxpayers of this community?
Counselor Tallman. Okay.
All set then, thanks.
All right, so to Counselor Murphy.
Yeah, and I will certainly take this up in public safety, and I'm glad we're sending it to a committee. I do think, I mean, first of all, I think we need to know, number one, what kind of scope we're looking for. Clearly, and we've talked about this, and I know several other counselors, I know I've talked about overtime is an issue, and how overtime is distributed, and not in terms of not terms of favor. I just looked at the contract for patrolmen with all the other things going on, and I wonder why patrolmen don't get as much overtime, but it appears in the contract that they need to specifically request it on a specific date. And if that's the case, that makes it awfully difficult for them to get themselves in the queue. So, I mean, I think there's some of those kind of things that we can do from an administrative standpoint without necessarily going out to pay for some independent contractor consultant who may or may not be worthy of what's happening. But I do think, you know, we need to have an open discussion on what's going on. You know, we need to make sure we're spending money the best way we can. And I do think there is some question. I'm not questioning the integrity. I'm just questioning in terms of how do I get the best bang for the buck in terms of overtime. So that would certainly be something in public safety that I want to look at as a priority. If we do send out to somebody, that's a priority. How do we get overtime spread out throughout the department so we get maximum impact in terms of coverage? That's needs to be covered. How are grant funds used, and is that a major impact in terms of overtime? Those are all questions that I think we can get answers for. And I think as we go along here, if we get the answers, maybe we don't need to go to a private consultant. Maybe we can get answers for ourselves. But I will take this up, and I'll invite all parties that want to come and offer comment and thought. I do think it needs to be an open process, and I'll, depending on who's coming, I'll try to do it like I did with the charter rules when we had the schools, and try to make sure we're getting everybody's impact. So thank you.
For that, to public safety, all those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed?
Mr. President, make a motion to suspend the rules, please.
Yes.
Second.
Make a motion that on item number 27, we amend it before you read it, and that we don't have to have you read Joint's point, and that you can read Jones.
Yeah, it's a typo. I was gonna fix that. It's Jones' point, but you know, typing with the thumbs.
That'll be added on that. Well,
yeah. I caught it. I was just gonna try and read over it. Order from Councilor Leahy and Councilor McGee. Order that the Park and Recreation Department, DPW, review Jones Point, not Joint Point, in order to develop a plan for better utilizing the space. Send to, I'd say, public service.
Public service, probably copy. with the DPW and Parks and Rec.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? 28 from Councilor McGivern, that the city council consider raising the max amount of reserve officer for 24 to 35.
An ordinance, please.
Ordinance. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
I thought, is that, could I ask a question on that? Is that
sure
by ordinance that we have that
Yes.
number? Okay.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
29.
Make a motion to really suspend the rules to take up item 29, 30, and 34 as a package.
Second that.
29, 30, 34 as a package. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? 29 is for firefighters injured on duty, $2,163.96. For police, it would be $11,880.40. And 34 injured on duty again for firefighters, $2,163.96.
And
that a-
how,
Looks like a repeat.
A repeat. Is that a double?
That might be a double, but I don't have the slip that's usually attached to it to show how many.
Is number 34 included with that?
So 29, 30, 34. Maybe we just send these
Okay.
to committee because we don't have all the information to them.
I wish of the body, and we're gonna get the answers as it's, we know what it is.
Yeah, but I don't know about 34 though. It's a repeat, it looks like.
Well, it's so identical, it's gotta be redundant.
Okay, so want to do 29 and 30 as a package, receive, adopt, pass the first reading?
Please.
Second.
So as we all know, this is injured on duty for firefighters and police. That's 29 and 30. I don't have the numbers, but all in favor of passing the first reading?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
Motion to pass the second reading?
Motion is passed the second reading. Clerk will call the roll. If you vote yes, you're voting for 29 and 30 as a package.
Anderson Burgos,
Yes.
Bartley,
Muted.
Graney,
Yes.
Hernandez,
Yes.
Leahy,
Yes.
LeBron Martinez, Lisi,
Yes.
McGee,
Yes.
McGivern,
Yes.
Murphy,
Yes.
Sullivan,
Yes.
Tallman,
Yes.
Bacon.
yes,
11 yeas.
For your vote, you approved those two. 34, do you just want to give back to the auditor?
If, you return to the auditor, would be fine.
Okay,
I
so-
do have the number of people, if anybody's interested, I can send it to them. I have the second page on those last two orders.
All right, so 34 to refer back to the auditor. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Back to 31.
If I can suspend the rules, Mr. President, and take up items 31, 32, 33, and 35, and refer to Committee on Finance.
So motion to suspend the rules, take up 31, 32, 33, and 35. All those in favor? All those opposed? 31 is the local technical assistance grant. 32 is another rapid recovery planning grant. 33 is the SAFE grant. And 35 is the cultural facilities grant, all to finance. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? We do have some late files left. We have late file D, which is from the League of Women Voters. This should be under my name. I was going to file this resolution on their behalf. They sent it, I think, to the clerk's office for us to review. So
I'll make the motion and we refer to public safety.
Send it to public safety. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? That should be under my name. Sharon Farmer sent me the email. I said I would file it on her behalf, and then she sent it over. So just tell you why.
We do see.
What was that?
Was there a C?
There was Counselor Bartley had one. I have a C right here. This is a reappointment of Bellamy Schmidt to the retirement board. Came in as a late file. Want to send that to public service?
Second.
Late file, I think we have to.
Yeah, all those in favor?
We do.
Aye.
All those opposed? There's an E here. It's the VHP letter. I think it's for the marijuana license that came in as an email, late file.
Make a motion into DGNR.
Is that
To ordinance?
I think it's ordinance.
Ordinance. All right, make a motion into ordinance.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed?
All right.
I think that this goes with it. Okay. I think I got everything, unless I missed one thing. I think so. All right, so the motion would be to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn. Happy St. Patrick's Day.
Happy St. Patrick's Day, everyone.
Happy
Bye.
St.
Be safe.
Good night.
Good night.
Patrick's Day.
Good
Good night,
night.
everybody.